like a scant.
What's I would do if I tried to bring them together like that. But I showed you how to grab it.
Okay, I think we're live on everything else. We're going live on Facebook at 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Right, okay, so today we have a special, really important case that we need to get out there, folks, regarding Vicki Bailey's story. And we are going to be airing a pre-recorded segment with the proof and documentation to back up her claims, which prove beyond a reasonable doubt everything that she has said from the beginning. And so, if you'd like to give a little intro, just briefly, Vicki, for our viewers, I think that would be a great start, and then we'll get started on the pre-recorded segment, if that's okay with you.
All right, thank you, Stephen. My story is about my son and I, who are victims of domestic violence. We were in protection by the state of California, and how all the laws were violated, and the abuser, the father, and CPS circumnavigated around family court and took my son illegally and has isolated him for 14 months. And he has fled numerous times, screaming more sexual abuse, and it's ignored, and he's been forcibly put back. And this is, I think, a unique situation because we have so much documentation. And the father, the abuser, has diagnosed with multiple mental illnesses. It's just catastrophic on almost every level that I think it needs to be looked at, and the urgency of removing the child for his own safety. It's not being done.
Right. Yes, absolutely. So we have this ready to go, and if everybody's ready, we're going to play this pre-recorded segment that we put together earlier in the week for her case. And this is really profound, and it really struck a chord with me. And I would like to, inform our viewers that there is some sensitive and content that in these documents. So just be aware of that. But I think it's relevant to helping our son make sure that he's safe and that he can come home. And we need to get this out there. People, we need to make this go viral, because what's been done to him and and his mother is unconscionable. It's sick. And please share this out to all platforms and any platforms available to you. This is critical that we do this. Please share this out everywhere you possibly can. Make sure I'm sharing sound, and then I think we're good to go.
I'm actually coming forward with a case that I think is really important for everybody to hear about. It's about myself and my son, who we still are under protection with domestic violence under the state of California, the district attorney's office, and the Safe at Home state program. And CPS intervened and did not follow family codes, the 3044. They did not look at evidence. They took my son and they handed him to his father. And this is just proving son and I are under domestic violence protection for the DA's office. If you scroll down, here's that we are in the Safe at Home program. And my son is still under domestic violence protection for the DA's office. 11 months of the family not having any contact with the child at all. No doctors, no therapists. The doctor was put in isolation. CPS and the father were the only ones who've had eyes on my son. So 11 months into this past November, my son flees his father's custody. He's found hiding in the back storeroom of a Petco in Escondido. He's screaming abuse again. This is not the first time. This is about the third or fourth time documented. Right before he fled, he reached out to a nonprofit in Arizona that had helped our family previously, and he was texting. And so we have a lot of these texts that have been handed over to police. They've been handed over to the courts, and they've been ignored. These texts go into detail of the sexual abuse, the alcohol abuse, what's been going on. And CPS didn't do an investigation. They just handed the child back to the father against the child's wishes. I think it's important to say my son was 16 at the time, so he has a right to speak. and he's back in isolation. And nobody, it's the strangest thing in the world. Nobody has access. There's no visitation. There's no custody. There's no phone calls. His adult brothers have no contact with him. My son is high-functioning autistic with 2 brain tumors and multiple medical issues, and he is a client of San Diego Regional Center. And it's my understanding that there's a contract or a statute that says that if CPS takes a child, they have to work with Regional Center. Regional Center has been looking for my son for 14 months. CPS has kept him very isolated from all the agencies. So my son is not getting services and supports under the Americans with Disabilities Act.
Oh my God, that's horrible. We are seeing this across the board with a lot of our different interviewees and people whose cases we've covered. This is this is like rampant, and this is not isolated. This is going on all across the board. Vicki, you're not alone in this. That's kind of like why we're doing the work what we're doing, to kind of expose these bastards, because what they're doing is highly illegal. Not only that, unethical, immoral, and beyond criminal. It's beyond criminal. I would even go so far as to say pure evil.
It was bad enough going through CPS, and I'm sure we'll get into those details. I think the more shocking is how it's continued in family court once it came back to family court. And the situation's escalating, and we have a child in, I think everyone will agree, we get into this evidence that this is a immediate emergency issue.
Yes, most definitely. Dude, how in the heck? I don't understand. I would have never imagined that we would be seeing this kind of level of corruption on all the way up and down the board. And it's almost like everybody's complicit in it. It's really, really sick. It makes me sick to my stomach because they don't give a crap about the kids. They're that much is obvious. I think it's all about the money for them. I think that's what's...
Something's wrong. If you can show the text is my son screaming, help, 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 call federal, don't trust the cops will put me back. My son had reached out, it was November 28th, right around Thanksgiving, when everybody was enjoying their last Thanksgiving. My son reached out to a nonprofit that had helped us in the past because he's been cut off from everybody, so I'm assuming all his contacts are gone. So he was able to look up, I'm assuming again that he looked them up because they're online, and he started talking to one of their employees who got very concerned and got a hold of the CEO, who my son also knows. And the CEO had a phone conversation for a day and a half with him. And at some point, the CEO started texting because he wanted to get this documented. And the CEO is a retired sheriff deputy. So the last text where Charlie is screaming desperate of help, help, get me out of here. Again, this is a 16-year-old. So if you want to go to another text. So this is a text of my son talking to the CEO, and he's describing how dad got him drunk on multiple occasions, and what they do is they fill him with edibles right before every CPS hearing. Now, in this text, he talks about edibles so strong I couldn't see straight to keep me quiet about my losing weight and not taking my antidepressants for court proceedings. But in the conversation with the CEO, he said he reported it to CPS, social worker, and they didn't do anything about it. And the social worker is very aware of what's going on. And he said they did it before every single hearing. So he couldn't talk. And at the same time, you're going to see evidence in here where they threaten me in writing in an email that if I speak or submit any evidence, they will amend their 300C petition and file criminal charges against me. This is the CPS appointed attorney for me, emailing me. And she had a conversation with me, and she would not permit me to speak. I was emailing. I've got the evidence of emailing her, all the medical attachments, everything that was going on, all the evidence. And she was yelling at me, telling me to stop. And then she wrote this email, and she said she's very concerned if I keep this behavior up, and the agency could amend and file allegations against me. And what she said on the phone, and what she said on the phone was, she is concerned that if I continue my behavior of submitting evidence to her, that CPS could amend their 300C petition and file criminal charges against me. And this was the email backing that up.
Wow. Wow. That's just, oh my God. And this is supposed to be
they're drugging
the person that's defending you and representing you, right?
She never did. She never submitted any evidence. She never questioned anybody. She didn't cross. She didn't challenge. Not one time did she argue or object. She didn't call any witnesses. My son's medical doctors and therapists were not called. The entire CPS procedure, investigation, and trial was CPS social workers and a CPS therapist for my son and the child's father. That was it.
Wow. So, I mean, she was supposed to be your counsel, it's supposed to be your representation, but clearly she was complicit in these criminal activities of the court system and CPS.
Oh, absolutely. I've got all the emails, and it's going to federal court.
That's important. What do you do when the whole system is complicit in these kind of crimes? You know, like when there's no due process, evidence is being ignored, people are being lied to and coerced, and most importantly, it's the children that are the victims here. You know, it's like indeed they're acting under the guise that it's in the best interest of the child, but clearly, this, based on the evidence, that's definitely not the case.
Right. Here you can see on March 16th, she's saying she's still making decisions about evidence that she wants to present. I think this is interesting because they removed my son mid-January of 2021, and that was the last anybody ever saw him or spoke with him. And within 2 weeks of them removing him without any hearings, they listed me on the California State Registry for Child Abusers.
What? Are you kidding me?
I'm 56 years old. I've raised 5 boys. I have no record, no nothing, with no evidence. They've listed me on the state index and I can't work.
Oh my God, that's just, how do these bastards get away with this? How does this even happen?
They just do it. They just do it. And there's nobody around to stop them.
Man, there is no accountability at all.
I need this to go out, and the reason I'm bringing this out is because I now have to do something I never thought I would do. I have to start telling women and men who are abused in domestic violence, if you're thinking about leaving and you see all those commercials and you say there's support and you say and people tell you there's laws, nobody recognizes them, do not leave.
Absolutely.
There's no protection for my son now. If I stayed, my son would have some protection because I was able to at least see things and maneuver, how you can survive through the violence. I have no contact with my son now. His family, his brothers, his doctors, his therapists, nobody has access to my son.
Oh my God. This is horrible.
Maybe we should go into what's going on with my son.
Yeah, where would you like to go next? I mean, we got a lot of evidence here, so whatever you think is most relevant.
So this is a molestation report that my son did in therapy that I was unaware of, and I wasn't aware. I knew something was going on, but nobody told me until a good 3 weeks into the investigation. If you scroll down to the bottom where it's highlighted. This is my son's statement. Now, the officer said that he converted the vocabulary into the officer's vocabulary. So Charlie talks about spending a day with his father. So he talks about here about after supervised visitation was lifted, and his father was awarded unsupervised visits. What was going on those visits. And you can see here, my son is talking about how his father gives him multiple cannabis edible gummies. He starts to caress his hair, rub his shoulders. He goes into removing his pants and his boxers. He describes what his father does to him.
Oh my God. This is,
I can't read this.
Well, I'm sure you just can read it for them. So yes, I agree. It is sick.
And there's if you scroll, if not scroll, but if you just go down to the bottom of the highlight, where it says, I don't know for sure, but I believe his dad has also sexually molested his brother. My brother's made statements to my mom regarding dreams of being molested. We had no idea that my son was listening when I was talking to my other son, who is battling this. And
Okay.
I think that brings some validity into it because we didn't know he knew.
Right. Go ahead. Take your time. No rush. Take your time.
What CPS did was they admitted to it, that they, quote, called the police and explained the situation, that the mother made the child make this report up, and they buried this investigation. It was stopped and it was buried.
Wow.
So
that's just, so they colluded to cover it up.
oh yes, and they admitted to it. They're very open about their stuff. So let's talk a little bit maybe about the evidence of the father's the initial court orders. Okay, so this is the first court order, and I think it's interesting. Keep scrolling down a bit. This was the very first court order. Go to the second page. This was September of 2019, right there. Okay, so I find it interesting. Here on the number 2, custody and visitation, the father walks into the very first court hearing of filing for divorce, and he voluntarily relinquishes all of his rights to his child, and he requests to terminate visitation.
What?
Yeah, we'll get into that. And they list he's not to have any unsupervised visits. And they even go as far as stating in the order, if your son contacts you, do not respond. Well, he violated all of these orders.
So this was before all this started happening, when CPS, or like, yeah, basically.
This was the very beginning.
Wow.
This was the very beginning. What had happened was we fled, and the father's mental illness, and he became suicidal. And he started writing suicide letters all over town. So if you scroll up one page, at the very top right there, you're going to see the court orders. Respondent shall obtain and pay for a psychiatric evaluation. He's never done it.
Okay.
He violated all the restraining orders. And scroll down further, you should see a mental illness diagnosis from the VA. Okay, here is the VA diagnosis. And if you look at the reason for decision number 1, veteran has obsessive compulsive traits, dysthymic disorder, and mixed personality disorder, which is the kicker here. Passive aggressive traits, avoidant traits. And you look down at the second paragraph, it says that the veteran was diagnosed as having major depressive recurrence, severe with psychotic features, and obsessive compulsive disorders. They later diagnosed him in another document of having neurotic depression, which I had to look up. And that definition is depression with an emotionally unstable person. So this is who we were fleeing. Now we have a civilian clinical psychologist by the name of Dr. Craig Vicci in San Diego, who treated my husband for several months and diagnosed him as a dangerous and severe covert narcissistic personality disorder. I've been told that falls under that mixed personality disorder diagnosis with the VA.
Okay.
So we're trying to leave this type of person. We've had 19 years of severe abuse and control. We don't need to go into all that, I guess, because I'm more concerned that the world hears what's going on right now.
Right. Because that's the most important, most critical thing, considering what's, your son's mental state and the fact that nobody knows where he's at,
Yeah. We could go to that list. If you go back to that same document, this is a bullet list of all those texts.
Okay, so this is basically a summary of all those texts then.
So November 28th, my son is fleeing. He's hiding out in the back storeroom of a Petco, and he's begging for federal help. He talks about dad getting him drunk every night with THCs and alcohol and tequila, and how he can't wake up for school. So dad ends up withdrawing. And the texts literally state I couldn't keep getting up for school with all the tequila I drank the night before. So Dad,
Yeah, I saw that one when I was
It's
going over
horrible.
the PDFs you sent me. I seen.
yeah, and my husband never allowed my son to have any kind of education at all. No homeschool, no public education. He didn't believe in it. So my son doesn't have those social skills
Okay.
and that awareness. We've really been seriously isolated for 19 years. It's
Okay.
a lot like the JC Dugard. When you break the case down, we're learning how to do everything.
Right.
So
So
then
it must have been
then
a very abusive situation you were in with that all that time then, huh?
it was a constant roller coaster of nice guy and then, oh crap, I stepped the wrong way.
Oh my God, walking on eggshells, basically.
Very much so. So much so that even the CPS trauma therapist that was assigned to me cleared me of all the allegations, wrote in a letter that she diagnosed me as a long-term victim of domestic violence abuse, suffering from PTSD, and she has since disappeared. CPS called her on a conference call in the middle of our session, and they harassed her and asked her numerous times to change her diagnosis to match their findings, and she wouldn't.
Oh, wow.
And she asked them, she said, what is it that this mother has done so we can address it in therapy? And nobody's ever been able to give an example that I've done anything wrong.
Wow.
She's now disappeared. So I ended up over at Community Resource Center for Domestic Violence for Therapy. And he's telling me that my therapist is, that it's more severe, more complex trauma. So he's looking at a complex trauma diagnosis. It's actually something I'm learning to take note of. I didn't realize it, but the therapist told me this is actually the evidence of how isolated I've been.
Oh,
not knowing how to do these things.
right. No, yeah, no, totally, because that ties right into the the trauma, and that's very common, and that's very, very common amongst people that have been have gone through that kind of a trauma. That makes perfect sense.
I've never used Zoom until now. Yeah, this is the text of summary of all the text. So the child talks on his text that on one occasion when Dad got him drunk and high on THC, that he enticed he got my son drunk and high, and then he pushed my son to have sex with my son's female dog, and he watched.
Oh my God.
And then what's happened is my son there's another text where my son tried to make a friend, and he started talking to a girl. Mm-hmm. And he said his dad walked up to him and whispered in his ear, "Did you have sex with Karma lately?" His dog.
Oh, wow.
And that's the cue, because we've never been allowed to have friends. And my husband will always jump up and say, "Well, I never made a rule." And no, he didn't. But we learned with severe punishment to give things up.
Right. That's kind of like conditioning through the abuse, through the mental and psychological and emotional abuse that you guys have been through.
We learned, I was never allowed to play music in 19 years. And the last 10 years of marriage, he never touched me. He never held my hand. He never kissed me. Anyway, there's so much to tell you, and we keep getting off track.
No, you're fine. No, you're fine, Vicci. Take your time. No rush. I mean, I know you've been through a lot, and just you're not no rush, no pressure. Just tell your story however you need to. Okay, and it's perfect. We're here for you. Right.
I think the hard part was at the same time CPS is putting in their reports, child is doing well in the father's care.
Yeah, they're basically lying, aren't they?
And the reports are reading, father is examining the child's naked body before a shower, and there's bruises on his thighs.
Wait, what? They're putting that in the reports too?
Yeah, that's in the
reports. Oh my God, oh, wow.
These reports are loaded. These reports, and that's not the evidence that's here. See how off track we can get easily.
Because I think that's relevant, though. Like, it's to give them a little bit of background context to what's going on, and I think.
So it's extremely difficult to be reading these reports, and then they're saying in the reports, family court says don't involve the children, don't let the children read the court records. In the CPS reports, they are stating in their report the child missed school because he was up till 3 a.m. reading CPS reports, and it upset him.
What?
And
They're even admitting it in those.
yes, yes.
Wow.
They,
It's okay. Take your time.
it's really hard to deal with all of this, and that's what they do. I think the whole question people are going to be asking is why they take him, why they give him to his dad. We were sitting there and we had sole custody. I had no motivation to do anything wrong because I had sole custody and I was working with the supervised visitation. I actually set up supervised visitation before the order came down. I called the visitation center in San Diego and did the whole intake and had everything set up so he wouldn't miss a beat, because I do think it's important children have access to both their parents. It's a female judge in San Diego. I call it CPS court. It's Judge Gaston. And at the very first hearing, before any evidence is done, she comes on and she immediately, now remember, they've gagged me. It's all video or it's all Zoom because of COVID, and they're controlling the mic. So I can't even speak. I mean, I can speak, but nobody can hear me.
Right. They mute people. That's what they do.
Yeah. I've never been able to speak.
Yeah, no, this is very common, and there's no ever since these last 2 years when these lockdowns happened, they've been using this as a broad brush to commit completely illegal acts, obviously, and silence people. There's no accountability or oversight, and you're absolutely right. They've used that as an excuse to do whatever the heck they want, and it's not right. It's wrong. It's wrong on so many levels.
Yeah, it's really, really interesting when you compare all the reports. Like the very first sentence they put in their detention report is, "This was a high conflict custody battle." Mm-hmm. You just saw the initial court order. There was no battle.
Right.
There never has been. What happened was the father, his issues got disclosed in family court, supervised visitation was imposed, and then he started getting caught over and over with his behaviors, and he disappeared. And he circumnavigated family court and he went to CPS court. And he was able to get custody against family code 3044 that you can't put a child with an abuser, at least until it's cleared up.
So he was able to get around all of that through CPS family court then.
Yeah, and the question is, how did he do it? And the only evidence that we have is that the child stated in his text when he was fleeing again that, quote, "Dad dated," I'm going to leave her name out of this because we don't have clarification. And
right. Of course.
But "Dad dated so-and-so, and that's how he got me removed from mom's illegally."
Oh,
and
wow.
Apparently she is an assistant DA or she's a social worker. We're not sure. We're trying to track that down.
Okay.
Flipping back to that list, you asked about that statement about the mother. So the judge comes into the very first hearing and she apologizes to my son. And she says, and this is a quote, she said, "I am so sorry you have had to grow up with such a horrible mother." This is the very first hearing. No evidence has been presented.
She's just making an assumption and assuming at that point.
And their storyline, when you read it, it's absolutely horrific. I've made up all of the medical issues. I've controlled the family. But here's the interesting part. Their CPS appointed therapist for my son diagnosed him with long-term domestic violence victim and PTSD.
Okay.
Their CPS appointed therapist for me diagnosed me long-term domestic violence victim PTSD. Their CPS appointed therapist diagnosed the father as father of the year and, quote, "We don't know why he's here."
They diagnosed as they really put that in the father of the year. Are you kidding me?
They didn't put father of the year. I paraphrased that part.
Gotcha. But still, I mean, like, obviously this is not the case. They're definitely colluding and covering, and falsifying evidence and documents.
Diagnosis. They have the child's medical records. They have the father's diagnosis. They have access to all the doctors, and they refused them. They came to my home. I made copies that were this tall, all exhibit organized, and they took it. So they have it, and I have a witness to that.
Okay.
And they never divulged it. So the evidence in family court is not in CPS court.
Okay.
So we have a now 17-year-old child who has recently tried to flee, screaming more abuse. There's a long history of the abuse. And I don't know if we want to flip again. I just remembered the porn issue.
Go ahead, take your time.
There's a history, after we left the father, one of my older sons, found porn on my younger son's laptop. And my younger son, his response was, "What's the big deal? I've been watching porn with dad since I was a baby. I know all his favorite websites and passwords."
What?
So
oh my God.
We called CPS, like Family Law Facilitator's Office told us to. And the CPS report, I think you have, yes, if you scroll down on that same document,
Okay.
it's going to be the very last document right after the father's diagnosis. Keep going. I've got this stuff memorized by now. Okay, so here's a clip from a CWS report, November 2019. If you scroll down just a little bit more. This one is saying the father reported that he himself was psychiatrically hospitalized in August of 2019.
Oh, wow.
Okay, let's scroll down a little further to the next page for the next highlight. My son is stating, I think he uses edibles, referring to his father. But if you scroll down to that other highlight there, this is CWS trying to get a hold of the child's father, my husband, in regards to the porn investigation.
Okay.
They tried numerous attempts to contact him in person, by phone, email, and he never responded. And I think this is really, really important for people to learn, because I had no idea. CPS has a timeline. So the abusers disappear and they wait until the timeline runs out and they have to close the investigation. So if you, and I hate to educate abusers here, but it's you have to educate the public as well.
Yes.
The abusers have learned what they do is they run, they hide, they wait until the time runs out. CPS closes the case, then they show back up like nothing's ever happened.
And CPS is complicit in this too, and they're basically, that's what at least what it seems like, based on just what you told me from your case, and then also several of the other cases that we've covered too. And I mean, that we're also seeing like very similar circumstances with Angie's case, for example. Yeah,
and so this is what's going on. They do something bad, they go disappear, they be quiet, and even in family court, you come back, and I've watched family court go, well, that's old. It doesn't matter. There's a pattern there.
I'm just going to have a quick smoke. I just closed my camera, so it's not on camera, but I'm still here. Okay. But go ahead. Continue.
This is where I need you to cue me a little bit. I think we've been all over the place.
You just go down a little bit.
No, I think that's pretty much it.
So I think I would like to show those actual texts that you got, some of the ones we haven't viewed yet, and then if you have any other portions that you want to cover that you think are most important or relevant, I would love for you to do that as well. And then
yes, please. Okay,
all
those
right,
texts
cool.
are going to be up in the media folder.
Okay.
And there, each one says text.
Why don't you tell, this is, I don't think we've played this one or showed this one yet, have we?
I don't think so.
All right, go ahead and just kind of briefly tell our viewers what the context of this one, and then we'll go on to the next one on the list.
Well, my son was under a safety plan because he did fall into a bunch of suicidal ideation. This is a piece we didn't cover. So you saw the November 2019 CWS report about the father not being able to access the father and supervised visitation. And so in that report, there's also more pages where they recommend supervised visitation for the father and that I retain sole legal and physical custody. That's November of 2019. The very next month, December, a family court judge, without the psych eval done, without anything done, the father shows back up. And CPS has been trying to get a hold of him, right?
Mm-hmm.
He shows back up in family court and asks for unsupervised visits. And I present that CWS report. I present that he has not done his psych eval.
Okay.
I present his mental illness diagnosis. And the judge gives him unsupervised visits anyway.
Oh my God.
Not to flip, but I carried this because we kept moving, and this is the military. This is what you do when you're in the military. And
Right.
I signed releases, and so I would walk in, and I would just go to the nearest local children's hospital. I didn't doctor shop. I didn't look for anybody. I made the appointment at the children's hospital and said, "Here you go." I signed all the releases. All the doctors talked, and I did what I was told. And
Right.
she told me, she said, "Vicki, keep this." She said, "This is evidence that it is not Munchausen's." And
Absolutely.
I have all the doctors talking. So when CPS and the father took the child and isolated him, they won't let the new doctors talk to the old doctors.
Of course not, because it wouldn't fit their narrative.
So I went into court and I asked family court judge if we could subpoena these new doctors, and the judge ordered my husband to give me their contact information. And so we could subpoena them into court and give them these records. Again, I'm not pursuing anything for the divorce. This isn't a tit for tat between us.
Right.
It is highly focused on these doctors need this medical record so this child can be treated appropriately.
Right.
Because if you keep this lie and this agenda going with this child, you're mistreating him and you're making it worse.
Absolutely, they are. Absolutely.
They know it. They know what they're doing.
I just like to point out for our viewers, if you look right here on this page, it says, the following list includes any diagnosis that were discussed at your visit. Autistic disorder. That's very clear. So I just want to point that out for our viewers because that's important. There's, that's clear cut, and they clearly they did a thorough evaluation, and they clearly they knew what they were doing. I mean, when you do a medical, there's a lot of documents that go with medical records, and this woman, Vicci, has been her evidence has been completely ignored. The CPS court system is completely lying and ignoring the evidence so that they can keep perpetrating their narrative. And what we have to ask ourselves is, why are they doing this? And the only thing that makes any sense is that they're trafficking these kids to some degree.
I've been told two things, and I guess both of them are possibilities, and I guess we're just all speculating at this point. But one is, if they keep them if they give them to the abuser, then guess what? They keep getting called, they keep getting paychecks, they keep getting their schedules full.
All about the money. Again.
But my son also disclosed in text, Dad dated someone, and that's how he got me removed. And I find that interesting because shortly thereafter, my husband still has all the marital assets. He liquidated, he sold the family home, he made a $67,000 profit. He has all the TD Ameritrades. This is a 20-year marriage. So he liquidated about $150,000 in cash. And I'm trying to get half of that. And he's held it since we left January of 2019. And against the court orders, against the laws, he's moved the assets 3 times. I've tracked it. That's important. You might want to keep that.
I saw that earlier when I was going over the documents. I do remember he said something about this lady or something. It was a woman. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I've seen a couple of those texts. So yeah, definitely.
Hold on to that for a second. So this past January 31st, he files bankruptcy. No assets. February 16th, he drops a huge retainer and hires a family law attorney with no assets.
Doesn't make any sense.
No. So the money either the money could have easily gone to whoever and however he got CPS to cooperate.
Right.
It'll be interesting to see when the money shows up, if it does. This is an email right after we left him. This is dealing with somebody who basically, in short, is a con man. When my son and I left, my husband said he was renting a room from a woman up in Escondido. It ended up being this woman, and she came forward because she was concerned about my son's safety with his father. Now, right here, when you see the text in the thread that's circled, it's zoomed up above. This is my husband's mistress of 30 years that came forward because she's worried about my son's health in the presence of his father. And that's ignored.
Wow. Do you have the original screenshot from this that you could send so we could show it?
Scroll above.
Okay. That's it right here. Right? This is it? Okay, got you.
So go up a little more. And it's my husband's face up there on the top.
Oh, okay.
Now it's interesting because he goes by Richard Drupel. That's his legal name. Mm-hmm. And then in family court, he goes by Richard Bailey Drupel.
Okay.
And then in Arizona, he goes by Richard Bailey.
Okay.
He goes by Ricky Bailey. It depends on which agency he's dealing with. And he has 6 different addresses, Texas, Arizona, and California, that he operates all at the same time as well.
Oh, wow. I mean, clearly he knows what he's doing. I mean, this is clearly intentional and premeditated, it looks like, from everything you've told.
This is just a small piece, but again, I want to focus on for everybody is we have a 17-year-old that is screaming to be rescued. He's screaming details of sexual abuse, and he's doing it 11 months after he's had no contact with any of us, so we didn't influence this. He's diagnosed a victim of domestic violence. And that's one we didn't finish before. You know how the CPS therapists all, they said I was the victim and PTSD, and my son was diagnosed victim and PTSD, and the father's cleared. Who's the abuser?
Right. Who is the abuser if that's the case? Because clearly there's been abuse going on, and you clearly are both victims of abuse. So it really begs the question. I mean, it just doesn't add up. The report.
How am I the abuser?
Right.
And my CPS appointed trauma therapist came back to CPS and said, well, there's clearly domestic violence going on in the household. Why isn't CPS offering domestic violence resources for this family?
Right.
And they refused. They wouldn't answer the question. We've never been offered anything except for the individual counseling. Mm-hmm. They've removed my son, and my son he's kidnapped. I mean, I'm not trying to be dramatic here.
No, it is. That's exactly what it is. These kids are being kidnapped through the family court system and CPS court system. It's really, really sick. And but we're seeing this all across the board. People, with all the people that we've interviewed and all the cases that we've covered, this is not, Vicci's not just an isolated incident here. This is happening all across the board. This is happening en masse on a grand scale, and not just here in the United States, but all around the world. And this is just a big, big issue that's really gotten a whole lot worse, especially in the last couple of years.
So when we did the emergency ex parte in December, when he fled his father, they continued it to March 16th.
Okay.
This is an ex parte for the emergency safety of a child, and they continued it for 3 months.
Of course they did. I mean,
so I bite my tongue. I bring in all the witnesses. We get the doctors. We get the nurses. We get everybody lined up. We even bring in the new doctors. I subpoena all of them. A commissioner shows up on March 16th instead of the judge, and she announces to everybody she doesn't know the merits of anybody's case, and there won't be any orders today.
What?
So
there we go. Perfect.
I received this a couple weeks ago. Somebody was nice enough, and now that he knows it's going to stop. This was an insurance form. It came to me March 8th. My son apparently has attempted suicide.
Okay.
He's in acute psychiatric IP. So I file emergency ex parte. It's a new circumstance. It piggybacks on the ex parte that's been delayed and continued. This is escalating. To me, this is common sense.
It is common sense. I mean, it's pretty straightforward if you ask me.
I went into court yesterday morning on this matter. The judge knows and has reviewed all the evidence about the sex and the father having sex with the child and the molestation report and what the child is screaming. And the judge said yesterday morning, he asked the father if he's made an appointment for the child with this psychiatric. Oh, apparently the child has checked himself out and gone home. So they're dealing with this as an outpatient basis. And the father states the child, he said it twice. He's now stating that the child is psychotic. He's not psychotic. He's being sexually abused and he's taking medication for his autoimmune encephalitis.
Clearly, that's going to cause him to be all over the place and have issues. I mean,
But
duh.
see, it keeps their agenda going.
It does. It absolutely does.
So, and I guess we could argue that. But the part we can't argue is he made a mental health appointment for the child. He told the judge he made an appointment for the child for mental health.
Mm-hmm.
And the judge looked at me and said, he's made an appointment for mental health. He's taking care of the child. I'm dismissing your ex parte completely.
What? Because he made an appointment. Just because he made an appointment.
So
That he's claiming.
how I interpret that is you can rape your children and you can sexually abuse them. And as long as you make a doctor's appointment for it, the judge is okay with it.
That's just beyond, oh my God, that's just unconscionable. It's just really, really sick that these court systems are complicit in covering this up for the money. This is really, really, really sick, people. You know, they claim and they do it under the guise of for the welfare and well-being of the child, but in actuality, what they're doing is abusing these kids and making them into even worse. They're doing way more damage. They don't give a shit about children. They're making money. People, that's what you need to understand. That's what this is about. And this is ridiculous. We cannot allow this. This is just, oh my God, this is horrible. I'm so sorry, Vicci.
It's just escalating by the day. One of those texts state that my son is planning the next time his father comes near him, he's going to, quote, take it off a handle and crab it in the back of his father's neck.
You know, they must be really, really compromised and, to be that far gone to not even value human life like that anymore and value what these kids are going through. The fact that they're just doing whatever the heck they want for the money. I mean, no, this is not, we can, as a society, we cannot allow this, people. If we do, there's not going to be any more future generations. And that's what people need to understand.
Yeah, look at this last thing he says in gray. That's the only thing I have are my ancestors. He has no hope. He thinks I did these horrible things. He thinks his brothers have done horrible things. They've cut him off from his stepbrothers because he was raised with his stepbrothers. I brought 4 boys into the marriage and we had this one child together.
Right.
He's cut off from them because they're step to my husband. And this is a pattern. And so when you dig into stacks and stacks of evidence that I have, the pattern just keeps repeating itself and it's very obvious.
Right.
My plea is one, I don't care about the divorce. I don't care I care, but if I don't see my son ever again, I could probably cope and deal with that the best way I can. But I can't live with my son being raped every night. That molestation report, those details you read, those went through my head every single night. And here's what people don't realize. The things he talked about, dad walking in the room and a certain blanket, I saw those things and it didn't register because it doesn't register a parent bringing a blanket to a child at night.
Right.
And now I can connect what my son is saying in that report to the things I remember seeing and going, oh my God. So that plays in my head every night. My son needs to be safe, and I'm not going to stop until he's safe.
Good, because you're doing the right thing, Vicki. I really have to commend you for, despite everything you've been through and all the abuse and isolation over the last 19 years or so, for you to be, I know how hard. I can only, I don't know. I can only imagine how hard this must be on you. I don't know what I would do if I was in that situation. I don't know, but like I got to give you the recognition that you have a lot of courage for speaking out, and I think you are absolutely a perfect example.
It's an absolute nightmare. We haven't been able to see or speak to my son in 14 months. And if I can send a message to him, you're my Jackie boy, and you know what's right, you know what's wrong, you know the path to take. You know all these are lies. You know us. You know your family. We're here. We're waiting for you. We're screaming on the other side of this wall. We're pounding on this wall. We're trying to get you safe. Don't give up. We love you. If you need to reach out, if you're ready to go again, you know who to contact. There is a safe house for you set up. It's not by me. It's been donated. And the police are not going to be involved this time. You're 17, you're free to go. You're legally free to go.
Absolutely. And I would like to give a message to him as well. Just, kiddo, know you're not alone. There's a whole team of us fighting for you and every other kid that's going through this. So I think it's important that, what's been told to you about what's happened, they're brainwashing you, kiddo, and you're not alone. There's a lot of people out here fighting for you. So don't give up.
Thank you. And to everyone that's in a domestic violence, I am sorry to say this, but it is the truth. And I wish somebody had told me, don't leave. Don't. You'll lose your kids pay the price. And I mean, they pay the price. The punishment is beyond survivable. I'm coming forward because I don't have any smaller children and I'm older. And I'm prepared to go to jail. I'm prepared to expose this at whatever cost. I'm prepared to leave the country. What they have done is beyond destruction and beyond evil. And
it's insidious, is what it is.
Ruined my son's future. Because how is my son going to catch up and get an education and support himself? So, baby, we're filing a federal lawsuit on your behalf. It'll be, we're working on it. You contact anybody. Don't call the authorities. You can call, people you can call. You can look up businesses. You can look up people's names. You can look up this place. You have my old email. Get on the street somewhere and call somebody, and other people are so upset over this. There's about 3,500 people who have watched and reviewed and seen these records, and they are fighting for you. There's 3,500 sets of eyes on your case. All you got to do is you can do what you want. If you're comfortable where you are, if you're done, you're 17, you're free to go. I'm actually coming forward with a case that I think is really important.
All right. Would you guys like to give our viewers a little bit of insight from both of your perspectives, Vicki and Matt?
It's just hard to watch. We have the CEO who spoke with my son and who's had a front row seat to a lot of this since the day we left and before. And I think this is a good time for him to step in and be able to speak what he knows.
All right. Well, yeah, that's very hard to listen to, especially with the history with the family. I've had over 4 years of interaction with this family from before they left Oklahoma and transitioned through Arizona to California. We've engaged the entire family and had, everywhere from personal interaction to emails text messages, phone calls. Our foundation does a lot of intervention and stabilization for service families in crisis. And so we look to find ways to intervene, whether it be simple things like furniture and household items that they need, doing some remodels or building, or, we go out and get other organizations or corporations involved to meet needs. In this case, you have a really sick young man. And at the time, we didn't know, when we first met Vicci and her son, we did not know that they were on the run out of the marriage. We learned that a few months later on down the road. So we just helped out with some basic things that we were asked to do. But we actually assisted with their move from Oklahoma. So we put a lot of resources and staff into the mix. Doing that, we got a lot of opportunities to interact with the family extensively. Our staff that were in Oklahoma had some very disturbing interaction with the father. He pretended to be frail and absent-minded and incapable, and it was all an act. Those concerns were brought to my attention by my staff. And so we had a lot of kind of insight early on that there was something wrong going on with him. But when we get asked to help a family, we help everybody in the family. And so we had a lot of interaction with the father. But we were not able to really pinpoint what was going on. A few months down the road, we found out that things had gone a lot farther in the negative, and had an opportunity to get more engaged with the family and see what we could do to assist. During all that time, I had a lot of opportunity to interact with Vicci's son in person, through other media. And since we work heavily with the 12 to 18-year-old dependents of these service families, we're used to working with the teenagers. And so we had a lot of challenging communication. I would say that her son is very, very intelligent, but he is very affected by what he has been through, both medically and in the psychological impact. The gaslighting that has been done, a lot of the abuse that started to come forward, clearly has been affecting him and his behavior. I've reminded Vicci that, he's a teenager, and that by legal definition, from 12 to 23, we're basically mentally insane. We all were. We all go through that process, and our brain grows, and then it pairs back, and issues and flaws and mental health issues start showing up. Charlie is a teenager, but he's never been a normal teenager. Her son is able to be very engaged with someone. At the same time, he has a lot of anger, a lot of hurt. He comes out with, he says a lot of things, just trying to, sometimes to get attention. But as I would question him more and more and ask him for information, he would repeat the same things accurately. So you can generally tell over time if they're blowing smoke at you or not. There's been a lot of time to observe her son and the family. At one point, we noticed some things that we felt we needed to confront with the father, which we did. He cut off all communication at that point. So he has removed himself from engaging us. So we've been engaged with the family members that have chosen to be engaged with us. They're not obligated. So November 27th, 2021, after not hearing from her son for a period of time, I got a frantic phone call from him out of the blue. And of course, I'm going to answer those calls whenever they come. And he was talking very fast. He was scared. He was concerned. He sounded like it was an opportunity for him to get away from his father. But knowing the family as we do, I felt it was best to just ask him a lot of questions to try to make sure what was going on with him. And if this was him affected by a substance, or if something was factually going on, if his life was in danger, it was hard to tell. I listened to him for a little bit, asked him some hard questions, and then felt it was best to conduct it over text messaging so we could document it. Most everything that he told me on the phone, I asked questions and he was able to repeat later on text messages. We carried on the conversation for a day and a half, broke off for a few hours that night. I kept asking her son for information. If he was making these allegations, what are they based on? Before I can send in the cavalry, I've got to have something to go on. And it was hard to get a lot of that information. He relayed a lot of his experiences, the things he felt were threatening to him and dangerous, and what the environment that he was living in, kind of a compound, the things that he was being exposed to, things that were being said to him, and what his dad was doing directly. He was more free to talk when his dad wasn't there. When his dad would show up, he would change demeanor quite significantly. I tried to get as much information as possible. He started sending pictures and was willing to go gather whatever information we needed. But it's not that simple to just get law enforcement to act. We had to have more to go on. We were in the middle of some of that on the second day when I got a fairly frantic call, help, you got to get me out of here now, send DEA, send the FBI, send anybody. And I was trying to figure out what exactly was going on, but he was saying that basically his dad was going to kill him. And I had heard him say these kind of comments before, but his demeanor was very authentic. I got San Diego County Sheriff deputy on the way out to check on him. And in the middle of that, all of a sudden I got another frantic call from him, and he was hiding in the back of the PetSmart in Escondido in the storage room. And he was almost out of battery on his phone, and he was in an absolute panic. He said that one of the employees had called the police for him, and he was hiding from his dad. Did not have a lot of time to really ascertain the exact details of what was going on, but basically his dad had taken him away from the compound in order to avoid having contact with the sheriff's deputy. After that, lost contact with him until later that evening that the police officer was taking him to Rady's, and that he was being admitted there. And that's the last text message I've had with him. There's over 200 screenshots from my phone alone of the conversations I had with him. The bottom line is, when a child of any age screams for help, we have to listen. And what's shocking is that I had extensive communication with the deputy from the San Diego County Sheriff's Department, with the officer from the Escondido Police Department, and the investigating detective from the San Diego County Child Abuse Division. It's a specialized unit. They have neither of the deputy or the officer that are originally involved could do much in their patrol, but this detective could have, and he has been less than forthcoming. He's been less than helpful. He's avoided his duty. I've talked extensively with 2 of his 3 superiors. We've made it very clear that we will file complaints for their conduct or lack of conduct. He has treated the mother with total disdain. They have not shown any respect or completed investigation. It's beyond disappointing. It's very disturbing, their lack of professionalism in this. And we've given them every opportunity to step up and do what's right, and they've chosen not to at this point. Or if they are doing more, they're hiding it, and they're not coming out and saying, hey, here's what we know. The mom has every right to have communication with her son and a relationship with him, even if she doesn't have custody. And in this case, she's not trying to get him back to her. Her concern and our concern is to get him away from his father, the abuser. And I warned the court in writing. I warned the deputies, detectives, everyone involved. If you send this kid back through Child Protective Services to his dad, you're going to have one or more bodies that you're going to end up dealing with. And I still emphatically believe that is the case, based on my extensive interaction with her son. And we hope that's not the case. We keep calling for welfare checks to try to find out where he is, to make sure he is in the area, that he's alive. There's a lot going on, a lot of moving parts. In all my years of dealing with service families and families in crisis, this is, to be blunt, the biggest clusterfuck we have ever seen. The complexities of the dad's behavior, psychotic issues, the scariest psychoval that we've seen. And 4 years of watching this craziness unfold. It's a legitimately messed up situation that Child Protective Services and family courts have completely blown up and destroyed. They're not giving the mom her time, her rights, or assisting her in any way. And it's an unfair playing field because the dad took everything. So it's just, it's been very disturbing to watch it. The hope is that we can get her son away to a facility that he can get proper care at, all the way around, medically and in mental health, and might have a shot at healing and surviving in life. Unfortunately, it's just not the best situation for him to be with any parent. But he does have older brothers that care for him, and he needs to interact with. But the courts are not assisting in any way. So that's the basic story with Charlie. There with this family, with the dad, the mom, the son, and the other brothers. We need to be really on top of this with an epidemic around the country where Child Protective Services has been basically kidnapping children from disabled veterans' homes and service homes in crisis. So this is not an isolated situation. There's a massive amount of these cases all around the country, which we have some that we're actively participating in or have. So in the end, I can tell you this, that Vicci is doing incredible at fighting this. She has the most detailed records I've ever seen. She keeps track of everything that she can prove it, which is one of the reasons that we've been helping her through this process, because everything we've ever asked for, she's provided. And it's a legitimate situation, and people should be very scared about the courts and what's going on.
Thank you so much, Matt, for speaking and coming on the show. I really admire not only Vicci's courage for speaking out and persevering and regardless of everything she's been. I really admire the work that you're doing, and I have a lot of respect for the work that you're doing for helping these kids, because somebody's got to do it. And I got much admiration and respect for you because of that. Just from what I've seen of you, just on this show, just this last hour. Would you like to say?
We need a lot more help and a lot more people out there engaged.
We do. And we need everybody that's viewing this tonight, share this out, please. We need your help. We need to make this go viral so we can bring this kid into safety and bring him home, so we can get him the help and the proper care that he needs, because this is beyond sick. It's so evil. It's so wrong. I mean, never imagined in a million years I'd be witnessing this on such a broad scale. Please, everybody, share this out. And if you know something or say something that you think might be related, please reach out to one of us or to somebody, that's, either on our team or Matt or even Vicci. We need to help. We all have an obligation and responsibility to help bring this kid back so he can be, so he can get the care that he needs, because this is just wrong on so many levels. So we're asking everybody tonight to please help share this out, and please help get this out there.
I see we have somebody new here, Dottie.
Yeah, Dottie. Hey, Dottie, you want to say a few words?
Hi, guys. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing all right. I'm sure we all have better days, but we're hanging in there. How are you guys doing?
I'm good. Vicki, I've heard your story before. I think you've been on one other time, correct?
I believe so, yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I heard your story before, but this time something about your story, like I don't cry much and I don't get emotional, but your story like hits home, like really hits home.
It does. It absolutely does.
The same stuff with my daughter. Didn't know where she was, 10 months. I don't know if you know, she ended up in a facility that has a class action lawsuit for child trafficking and labor against them right now. I can't get any of the records from that place or anything, and then to be kept from her like that, I almost teared up, and I don't usually do that. And it definitely is a battle. And I'm really sorry that you're going through this.
Thank you. It's not about courage. It's just pure desperation. You fall apart, you curl in a ball for 3 days, you throw up, you get up, you do it again.
Yeah. I've just been trying to wrap my head around the fact that it's daily trauma. It's every single day. This is something that I have to wake up with and deal with every day, and there's how do you move on? How do you heal? How do you repair your life?
You can't even interact with other people because they're talking about their normal day and how they had a bad waiter at lunch, and you have nothing to compare that to at an equal level because you're dealing with your child being raped, or you're dealing with something much more traumatic that would just floor them in their day. You can't connect with them because you're dealing with such trauma.
Yeah. And it's daily. What they're doing is, it's not just on these kids, it's the families, it's the children that they have associated with, the cousins, it's the whole entire family that has to go through this trauma. Nobody has spoke to Delilah. Like I haven't spoke to Delilah in a year. It was on the 31st, it was a year, the last time she called home. And, like my cousins her cousins haven't spoke with her, like my niece. And I know that affects her. They were really super close, and now she's just gone. No goodbye. No, that when you don't have like when you don't have closure to something, because it's like mourning a child, but they're still alive. It's really hard to explain it unless you've been there and gone through it. You just won't understand it, because I know it has to be different than losing a child, to death, but it's somewhere up there with that, because to me, it's like, do I just let it go and like try to move on and salvage what life I have? This is kind of battle I've been dealing with lately. Like, what do I do? Like, I can't stay in this kind of like depression and hole. Like, I have to like move on. How do you do that? You just forget about it all and forget and just put it aside and then deal with it later. Like, and there's just no really anywhere to turn. They don't offer too much. The parent alienation classes and groups like that, I haven't found any of that to be too helpful. The most thing I've found to be most helpful is this podcast and talking with other people like you that are going through it, and, helping people try to find ways, to better their situation.
Thank you for putting your 2 cents in, Dottie. That's really important that we all show the viewers that this is a real issue, and that it affects all of us. And if people, parent people that are skeptical that this could happen to you, just know I've seen this happen in just the 3 months that I've been covering this issue. I've seen this on such a rampant scale. If you don't think that they're going to come for you, I'm telling you that they will come for you. So we all have to be vigilant. We all have an obligation to these kids to speak out. Because if we're not, we're just as complicit as those covering this up. And I think that's important that everybody understand that. Do you, Bowles family, would you like to say a few words, or?
Yeah.
Right.
You mean in regards to what you just said?
in regards to what we just watched and Vicky's whole story, I mean, just basically give your input on it, and based on what you witnessed on the show today just now, and based on what Steve said and Vicky as well.
First and foremost, he needs to get to safety. It's not so much about the father. He needs to get to safety. It's the main thing.
Yeah, we were both talking about that off the air. That's the main thing now, is taking care of him and his concerns and helping him to try to heal and be the best he can be now. I mean, what's happened. It's not so much about everybody wants their pound of flesh, but now it's about the kid, taking care of him. It's not worrying about punishment or going after this person or that person or how bad CPS messed up the whole thing. It's about him now.
Absolutely, you guys, you're absolutely right about that. That's the most critical thing. It's about his safety, and all the other stuff can be handled down the road, but right now his safety and his well-being is critical and more important than anything. Absolutely.
I agree with that, but they make it so hard to make contact. Like, I have no contact with my daughter. They have gone and beyond all levels to keep me out. They really go beyond the limits of everything that you just don't imagine, the things that they're going to do to just keep your child from you. And you think that you could just stop it and end it, but you can't for some reason. No matter what you do, no matter how hard you fight, it seems like the harder I fight, the more they come against me. The more I try to find my daughter, to connect with my daughter, have a way to connect with my daughter, they've always find a way not to allow me to connect with her. Like,
I think all these laws, we have the 3044, we have the SB 1141, we have the new VAWA. These are great on paper,
yeah,
but they're not being used, they're not being utilized,
They're being completely ignored by these courts. Absolutely ignored all the way.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. And it's funny because people go, well, they can't do that. Well, on paper
they do. They do that.
They do it. And that's
go ahead, Vicki. Apologize, we didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that was it.
Yeah, man, it's great having you on, and we would like to have you up for follow-up, and every so often to kind of give people updates on what's going on, and that we're doing that with all families, kind of keep people in the loop, and get awareness out there, and kind of make this make it so that people can understand this is a huge issue that we have to face this, not only as a country, but as a society, and all around the world. This is so critical, because if we don't, there's not going to be any future generations to be able to protect. And that's what people need to understand. That's how insidious and how far-reaching this corruption goes, and it's really, really sick. Oh man, it's a lot. It's a lot.
The rabbit hole's deep. I mean, you go way down the rabbit hole on this.
Thank you guys so much for jumping on and speaking out. We really appreciate that, and we look forward to hearing updates the next time we have you on.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Vicki. So, would we like to let's go into your guys' segment, Bowles Family, shall we? You guys ready?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Let me bring it up here. Where did I put it? Oh, here's segments. All right, here we go. So, let me just make sure I screen share, and then we're good to go. There we go. Audio share. Okay. Sound share, is that on? Okay, cool.
But I don't know where to begin. I mean, you're
No, it's fine. Just take your time. Just start with how the level of stress that has caused you. Because I mean, we can all see it. Whenever we talk to you.
I would describe it as off the chart. No pun intended.
Yeah, you're right. You talk about the chart. Yeah.
Yeah.
And how has it affected your sleep cycle?
Well, there's nights that are, some are better than others, I guess, but. And I always kind of had trouble getting to sleep at a decent time anyway, but this makes it worse. Far worse.
Oh, no. I mean, like, yeah, we, just the last few days, we've seen how, how anxious and, how much it's, you've been, we can tell in the tone of your voice. Crystal was telling me the other day, she could see it in your eyes. You're in fear, and like, it just, I can only imagine what you guys are going through. I mean, it must be like one of the most difficult things you've ever had to experience because of this.
Yeah.
We're live.
The sheriff's office, we need to speak with you.
I will bring them out to you.
Hi. Huh?
I will bring them out to you.
Okay.
You have no evidence.
We have to step in.
No.
You don't have any right to get out of my house.
Don't stand up to me. Back up. Back up. No. Let me explain this, and we'll be okay. All right? We need to make sure that she's not.
All right, I'll wait here with him.
We're coming in. All right, listen.
You want to stay with him?
Listen.
No, listen.
Calm down.
No.
You're making this really, really bad for the kids.
I want your name and badge number.
Okay,
Name and badge number right now, motherfucker.
We want
I'm gonna
everybody's
take you.
car.
Okay.
That was your.
No, you're not.
We're
This
going.
is no crime.
All right.
No.
Listen.
No, get out of my home.
Don't.
Get out of my home.
Hey,
Get out of my home.
I'm gonna put you in cuffs
No, you're not.
and take you to jail. Stop. Legal. Stick alone.
Ma'am, stop. If you try to bite me, I will hurt you. Let go of the child. Let go of the child now. Stop. On your stomach right now. Give me your hands right now. I said, give me your hand. Other hand. Other hand. Now.
I can't.
Give me your hand now. Give us your hand. Now.
Don't try to bite me. Do not try to bite
Sweetie,
me.
go stand in the corner. Ma'am, you're about to get tased. I'm done.
She's gonna be okay. I'm gonna give you a direct order to step out of this car, and if you refuse, if we haven't dragged you out, it's gonna be another resistance. So I need you to step out. It's too late for talking. Step out of the car. Step out of the car. Step out of the car.
What are you going to do to me?
We're gonna drag you out.
No, if I step out, what are you going to do?
We're gonna walk in here,
Yeah.
and we're gonna finish our paperwork. That's what we're gonna do. And you just step
Am
out.
I involved in the paperwork?
You are the subject of this paperwork now.
Where will I be? Where are you taking me?
We're at Tulsa County Jail.
The obstruction, I want to understand, because the obstruction led to the resistance, right? Ultimately, resistance.
Yeah.
Our lawful order
Understand
from the
the-
judge to do our duty. You got in the way of us doing our duty by barricading the door, by grabbing the children and running. It doesn't matter on that part. Our job was to come and get the children and you obstructed us. That is the end of the story. Step out of the car.
I had a right to protect my children. I had a right to protect my children. You know it.
Step out of the car. This is your last warning. I will pull you out of that car in 3 seconds. All right. Are you gonna step out? Are you stepping out?
What are you gonna do to me?
I just told you I'm gonna drag you out of that car if you don't step out right
Step out. What are you
now.
gonna do to me? I was protecting my children. They need to be from others.
Okay.
All right. Put down your head.
No! Please don't! Please don't!
Yeah.
I was so long! I was protecting my children! I was protecting my children!
Hey, which one do you have, Piper? This one?
No, please! No, please! No, the cuffs! No, the cuffs! The cuffs!
I'll take them off if you get in there. Down on your knees. Get down on your knees so I can take the cuffs off.
You're probably good, Golly.
Please don't hurt me! Please! You hurt me!
I'm not gonna hurt you.
You hurt my children! You hurt my children! You hurt my family! How do you feel about hurting my family?
After having gone through this in 2016, and then when they're at your door again in 2020, and no matter how right you are or how wrong they are, you're going to have to go through this stuff all again. Probably worse this time around, which was 6 months last time. Now it's been 2 years this time. And every time you think you're making a little leeway, they throw up some new roadblock. Just like even now when we're trying to get overnights and then get them back in the home for a trial, whatever they call it. They're always throwing up some new roadblock. There's always some new thing. It's always something. And you go through the 2 years, you fight in trial, you go through all the trouble of getting an attorney, get a criminal attorney, get a family attorney, spend all that money that could far be used for better sources. And then it just drains you. You get nowhere. You go nowhere. You think you're making a little traction again, and then something new pops up. It's always something. It's been constant and unrelenting for over 2 years now. And I'd far better be concentrating on raising my sons and getting my eldest son better or well than going through all this stuff.
No, I mean, it's just like, how evil are these bastards? Like, well, like, how, I don't understand how people are what they're doing. Like, they must have no conscience whatsoever.
Oh no, it's just like, if I can go use like the Matrix, they're an agent. I mean, whatever you talk about, the human leaves and the agent appears. They can go by their way of dealing with you. It's just like it's us. I've been in sales before, and you have a sales script you go by. If they say this, you do this. They do this, they do the same thing. They're just going like an automatron. And the hardest thing is getting anybody to believe what's actually going on behind the scenes. Because unless somebody's gone through it, like I said before, I don't blame anybody for not believing it. Because it's unreal. It
really is.
It's bizarre world.
Well, like I said, I had heard about it even before I was a mother. I mean, long ago.
It's hard to believe that they're all, the judges, the DAs, the lawyers. Your lawyer's assigned to you. He's not, it seems to me he's working for somebody. He ain't working for you.
He's working for the courts. His allegiance is to the courts.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. I knew about like CPS even long before I was a mother, but I didn't know that like any judges or anything would be like complicit. I mean, I would never imagine.
Who would have imagined? I mean, I never would have imagined that either.
Yeah, judges I've always believed were on your side. I mean, if you were, as long as you're in the right.
Yeah, right. They don't care. I mean, it's like last time we were in court, it seemed like everybody was basically in agreement except for the children's attorney and the judge. They were the two main roadblocks.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, no, I mean, just in the short time that I've been covering this issue, I mean, I've seen so much evidence. I mean, I'm blown away, and I don't, like you say, I don't blame anybody for not believing in him either, because it's hard to swallow. I mean, who could have imagined that would be the case, but yet here we are. And I've seen evidence that this is clearly premeditated and this has got to be going on a massive scale. If it's happening to all these families, around, not only around the country, but around the world too. I mean, from what I've been able to determine, the AFCC, it operates in several, multiple countries, Australia, UK. So this is going on a global scale. I mean, this much we know. It's like, you're right. Like you said, bizarro world. or the Twilight Zone even, you know. It's like, but you know, I've seen the evidence for myself to know that these are facts, you know. And it's really scary. It really is, because you got a whole system that's designed to work against you, all for money.
Yes.
Mhm.
All for money, and people's egos and careers get involved.
Yep.
And nobody wants to rock the boat because that would affect their own ego and their own career.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely right on that. It's just really sad that, you know, that there's no more due process or justice anymore. And you know, and in our system, it's really, it makes me so angry when I see the case files of, you know, all these people that we interview, you know, you guys, the Vicci was big one. Oh my God, they are just gone. Oh my God, it's horrible what they're doing to her boy. Oh man, it makes me, but all it does is make me want to fight even harder. You know, I mean, because I know that ultimately we can beat these guys, because they're slipping up big time. You know, they're not even trying to hide it. You know, and that's good. I think
they don't try to hide it anymore. I mean,
they're not.
Crazy.
It is.
That's why when we got the ER report, I couldn't believe how much it was in our favor. And then when you present this to court, it's just disavowed.
By the time that we brought it into court, they had already drawn up an amended petition and even stated something about terminating rights.
Yeah.
I mean, possible, which that wasn't even on the petition from 2016. And this was an amended petition in 2020. And the 2016 petition did not have anything about terminating rights.
I'm going to play the other two clips, the ones from the Tulsa County Police Department that we didn't have time to edit in, because I think that's relevant. And then I want you to tell people the context behind that, so that they understand what's going on here. So let us start with the one that you can hear.
And this is the same day. I am in a nightgown in this, but it is the exact same day as you just saw. I just want to say that so everybody knows.
Okay.
11:30. This is 11:30 in the morning. What you just saw was with the sheriff's department. That was like approximately 7 p.m. at night.
Okay.
I got dressed in the middle of it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So this is like a 13-second clip. This is from the caseworker's phone, right? This video.
I think the police are there too.
This might be the bike. That's police. Okay, that's workers' phone. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, so now let me explain to our viewers. This actually captures the audio, a portion of the first 30 seconds on the body cam that the audio is not audible.
Then
I think, right?
Well, if that's the case, then actually
it looks like the same thing. The body cam, the one you sent me, that first one. Yeah, it looks like that first thing. This is a portion of that, I think.
Well, then I want to say this, because it is a fact that TPD, they mute the first 30 seconds of their body cam.
Yeah.
And the thing is, in their actual body cam footage, there's parts that you cannot hear where they're violating my rights. For example,
exactly.
When they told me that I have no right to an attorney and threatening to arrest me for child endangerment if I didn't talk to the workers, you can't hear that. And I don't believe that's in the first 30 seconds.
The part where he says I don't need a warrant is, though, that's very relevant.
That's not on the bike cam, but that's the caseworker's phone.
Also, I'll mention something here. I wasn't here at the time. I wasn't home yet. I was out shopping. And you'll notice you have a mother here for 2 children behind the glass door, and here's this policeman with his hand on his gun.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's just ridiculous. So let's play this for our viewers, because you'll understand once we start playing the next video with the 30 seconds muted, the first 30 seconds muted, how this plays in, because it's obviously same video, but same situation, but from the caseworker's cell phone, I believe it was recorded from.
Don't need a warrant. Need a warrant.
Don't do this.
I'm gonna take you to jail. If I break that door, you're gonna go to jail. You caused me to break that door, you're gonna go to jail. Open it up and talk to them.
All right, so let me bring up that other one. And then we shall I'll have you guys give the context behind that. It's about a 10-minute and 29-second video. I'm going to play the whole thing because I think it's important. So, and then after that, I'm going to have you guys explain the context behind these last 2 video segments we played, and then also how they relate to the first segment we played. Same guy right there, as everybody can see. It's the same cop that had his hand on the holster in the previous video.
That's the 5-year-old.
Wow.
It looks small.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What's she normally take? She's all blue in the mouth, and what's she take?
We don't
Okay.
Oh, yeah. That would be something that would be assessed when we talk to
Gotcha.
her.
I didn't know she'd had a history.
Yeah, not that we're aware of. No.
If she comes back out, just tell. I guess let me look right here. But I'm just trying to. Well,
no,
this.
I think that's the neighbor, isn't it?
I can't tell.
Because these two go together.
Is that a front window? Okay, then this is probably the neighbor. Probably scared the hell out of the neighbor.
So I'm gonna run it. She has a warrant. Take her.
Order or something to do that.
Because the kids can't do that.
Right.
I'm just trying to.
You're gonna run and see if you're gonna be warranted. That's the spirit job.
Okay. Alright, come over.
All of us?
No, just
I've got. Now.
Yeah. So she's just gonna barricade her something, and that window doesn't reach that door. That's
I don't think so. I think that
I don't
goes
think
to
so. I
neighbor.
couldn't tell. I thought it was hers. There's a little little girl hair thingy kind of stuck in it, and it's partially open. But it's. I mean, you feel free.
And run into the back, and then she run to the front. So he's gonna run.
She scared those kids to death.
I know. That's what the last time Kirsty was here, she just came to the window and said, and walked off.
Yeah, I can't tell what she's taking.
This glass door in the room. I'd come to the front door. She can't see the door.
Yeah. I mean, everything you see in her mouth. She's all blue in her mouth.
Oh, and that's why I asked her. I said, "This looks like the back door." Like she's like, "Where's the door I came to last time?" Yeah, this is the back door.
Yeah, the front's on the inside porch.
These poor kids.
Who's coming out?
Not to the hope she doesn't know. I'm calling the DA now to see if we can get her board.
Is he running her?
Yeah.
Is he? She's not gonna have a 54 or anything.
Item 245, 97 the neighborhood.
Wow.
He's on the ring on the front line.
Yeah, well, we can see in our county like 54 or something.
You want a county?
No. Switch to records. You want to run county?
Records isn't.
What's
isn't
Mom's
catching
first
them
name?
anymore. You can't run them.
Kirsty. Mom's first name.
Tamsin. Tamsin.
Tamsin. Is that first name?
Tamsin?
That's happened
I need to write a complaint about that.
Did you say one of those kids is 5?
That one that was
The one that was right here is
They just kept
5.
running back.
Looks like a
She's
3-year-old.
running
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Like a tiny
I thought they were like 2 and 3.
Not opening the door.
Yeah, they look really little. Really small. Yeah.
Well, that's what I said, but they doing it without us getting an order. I mentioned, protected custody, but. I was trying to get an order. Let me text it. Let me look. Let me see. I might have it.
That's bold not to open for the police though.
Yeah, she don't give a damn. Clearly.
Oh, yeah, I got it.
I mean, right.
Well, I mean, that's usually makes
Well,
you
that's
want
why
to
I'm
open.
like,
Okay.
I can't believe, and then I'm like, I can't believe she's doing that in front of you. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, you.
Hello?
If you really are trying to protect your children,
She's grabbing them and running.
yeah, and they're scared to death.
And they're trying to come over here.
Yeah.
I wish she would have been.
But the way that she had to pick him up to stand, set him up too. He's real
He's little.
tiny.
Hello? Hey, Matt, this is Charmaine with DHS. I'm out here. I'm good. I'm out here with one of my workers, Kirsty Hilton. We have an investigation with the.
Yeah, I think that window's like this.
Yeah, like
it's
this,
with this
that,
window.
this,
Yeah.
that, that, yeah.
Hopefully, no one's home. Try to scare me to
Mom
death.
would not open the door when Kirsty kept coming out. We're out here now with law enforcement. We actually, first time we were able to lay eyes on the kids from inside the home, and they're 5 and 3. But the 5-year-old, he does not look 5. He looks like he's. Yeah, they don't look 5 and 3. They look younger. We have history with this family. 2017. 2017. 16, but then weren't they returned in 2017 or something like that?
Carrie said they were in custody for like 2 months.
They were in custody for a couple of months. Yeah, they were in custody for a few months.
Be a whole different person.
Hi. Yeah.
Come on in.
You guys like a drink? I mean, yeah.
Welcome to my home. 2017. So, and they're not, like, they'll just look at us and walk away from the door. Then they're grabbing, she just came to the door and she's grabbing the kids and running to different rooms that won't open the door for us to get these kids seen. So we're wanting to get an order so we can take them to the Justice Center. Like the kids around their eyes are like dark. Just looking at them through this window.
What's
It's
up?
2.
Do we need you? Okay.
Okay.
We're at the house right now. We're scared. Like if we leave, then they're gonna.
Well,
go.
and then someone else is coming from the front. I'm like,
Yeah, no, we were looking at that person. They were carrying like
see, I'm
wood
like,
or something to the trash.
I'm like, come around here first.
But could that not
Well, no, I guess you still have to have an order
To take,
Yeah.
She's not trying to let us to, even with law enforcement here, she's telling them no, and he's telling her you're gonna go to jail, open the door so they can see the kids. Huh? Okay.
It's starting to do much.
All right.
the elastic time on the repairs, so I have
Matt.
to snap back. Technically out of
Hello.
policy, but what are they gonna do?
He said we have to type up a affidavit. He can't give a verbal because it's before 4 o'clock. I'm like, if we leave,
This is
these
an
kids.
emergency. Yeah, if we leave and she's.
And you can't go above no.
She's not gonna open the door. It doesn't matter what you guys do. I mean, even if you
Mhm.
leave and come back, she's gonna do the same thing.
Yeah.
My concern
That's
is
what
that
I'm
when we
saying.
come back, she's not gonna be here.
Yeah.
Hey, Matt said no, he's not giving a verbal. We need to type up an affidavit. But I'm like, if we, well, yeah, that's what I told him. I said, if we leave, and, you know, something may happen. Like now, if we had a verbal order, they would be able to knock the door down and get the kids out. But because we don't have an order,
You're a bitch.
we can't. Yeah.
It's
He says the
bullshit,
judge
though.
is going to yell
How
at
are you gonna
if
call
he
me
tries
out
to
and
get
not
a
call
verbal
anyone else
because
out?
of the time.
Call you out.
That was calling me out.
And I told him, I said, well, we're
It
here at
wasn't.
the apartment. You see the kids, they look like they're malnourished.
I mean,
And she's grabbing them.
Excuse me, will you please come to the door?
Listen to him.
after you scare the shit out of her, then be like, "Can you please come to the door?"
Well, she wasn't gonna open the door.
No,
She
she
wasn't.
wasn't.
Regardless.
And,
I think so, because I called China and she didn't answer, and then I called Hana and she told me to call Matt.
Disconnect the cable. I bet you'll come
She
up
don't
with
got
a-
cable.
Yeah. That's what I told him.
Can you look yet?
I'm not sure. She didn't answer. I shoot her a text.
Okay. Well, then. Her badges aren't working. Go away. There's kids in there trying to watch cartoons right now.
I'm plugging the cable.
I don't see that happening. No.
All right. Well, just let me know if you get it.
There wasn't ever any physical abuse of the kids, right?
Huh?
There wasn't any physical abuse.
No physical, just concerned for malnourished.
Malnourished.
Okay. I just was trying to, you know what I mean? I don't want to
Yeah.
be upset and go in there and do something ridiculous. Okay.
There were people that saw the kids and would bring food over here to the house for the kids. And then when they tried to bring it another time, she got mad and said no. She wouldn't take the food.
Blatant bogus.
Oh, I called your people.
Helmberg.
I called your collaterals on something. Yeah.
I know.
Oh, no, I don't think I ever made contact. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Well, somebody's gonna have
Kenny's
to
like,
like soon.
Alright, let me know. She's gonna call.
Okay, you guys, so why don't you
I
give
need to talk about
viewers
that on so many levels.
I'll go right ahead. I would love for you to go into depth and explain to our viewers the context behind all of that.
Okay, whoever and however they got called there, this is the second time they've been to, we got into it CPS in 2016. They came again in 2020. But on this video here, they're saying, my wife has blue lips, no pictures, no report of that when she was taken in by the sheriffs whatsoever. They said the kids had dark circles around their eyes, no report, no pictures, nothing at the ER report. And as for being small, both children were well within their weight for their age group, as proven by the ER reports. They got a completely fine bill of health at the ER reports. They're in good shape, healthy and well nourished. And we had that ER report checked by a family doctor. That's exactly what it says. And you see the policeman, he's trying to, there's a kind of a cable thing. He's pulling that because he thought it might lift up where he could get into the house, because it looks kind of like the back of a van. And you see two policemen up front. They're probably trying the door. They're trying to get in there without a warrant. As I said, they don't need no warrant. She stood her ground. She knows her rights. And they also, in the report, they said that our oldest child was so weak, she had to help him up. You see both those children run over that house. They run back and forth, completely healthy.
The first thing they saw were both the kids walking around.
Yeah, and then they said in the report, the kid was so weak that she had to help him up. Yeah, she had to push him up because he has autism and he didn't know it's time to go. We gotta get out of there. They're terrorizing, trying to terrorize a mother and the children, and then they're acting like she's scaring the children. I mean, there's on so many levels, what they did was so wrong. And you hear her there on the phone, she's trying to get a verbal court order. Verbal writ, yeah, from the assistant district attorney to allow them to bust through that window and get the children and arrest her.
If there's a real emergency, you don't need a verbal order. I've never heard that in my life, ever.
And you see those same police that later on, they said, well, we can't go in there until we get a writ and a court order. Well, when the writ and the court order came down hours later, the police refused to act upon it. They said, get the sheriff's department to do it for you. So they know the sheriff's department are good little order followers. They don't care who, where, what. That's what the order says. That's what they're going to do, because they know their actions earlier today, they were on shaky legal ground. They possibly lost their qualified immunity by telling her that she couldn't talk to a lawyer and they didn't need a warrant. Something very similar happened in Kentucky.
Yep.
But the woman there was coerced into letting them in, but later on, the police lost their qualified immunity for acting like that. And that's what we're dealing with. And that DA, that same DA, he's the one that if the ER report had anything negative to say about us, it would have been discovery. But it never showed, the ER report never showed up discovery. If we hadn't got it, it never seen the light of day. And if we give it in to them, they'd send them to the what center?
Justice Advocacy Center.
Yeah, Advocacy Center, which is run by Passmore. Their go-to pediatrician. You give her a child, she'll give you a case. Because we didn't do it, they got sent to the ER instead. And because of that, we have a case. Then it's been sent to Passmore first, we had nothing. But instead, we have solid proof the children are fine. There's no pictures, there's no dark circles, there was no blue lips. The children are both well within their weight for their age group. I believe their heights are fine too. I'm not positive.
I know that they had their heights for that night. But
yeah, they don't think they had their heights.
No.
This is the first time they'd pulled a stunt like this. That's why we didn't talk to them.
Right. So I'm going to make an observation. Was your son eating any kind of like blue popsicle or blue candy that day? Because that would explain the blue lips. I mean, and and there's.
They said.
Oh that was the very same thing too.
Me blue in the mouth.
Yeah, she said she had blue lips.
It's something about me flushing drugs down the toilet.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. It's just absolute absurdity there. Go ahead.
Looking for any excuse to bust in. They tried to intimidate the way in. I don't know how they would have gone if I was there, because I would have told that policeman off. Go ahead, bust, because something very similar happened to this before that. Kirsty, that ER worker, came there back in
2019.
People about,
You said ER worker, you mean CPS worker?
Yeah, CPS
Which is
worker,
the one with the long blonde hair.
yeah,
Mhm.
CPS worker. A policeman had come there in September and shined his light through in the front there through those blinds and said, I can see the children in danger. And what the only thing that was wrong with that front room is toys were spread like they usually are because the kids had the toys out.
Right. All kids are like that. Even my nephews and nieces are like that. I mean,
And
come
he
on.
said,
That all
"You know
kids are
what?"
like
I said,
that.
You're not getting out without a warrant. I told him that night, you're not getting out without a warrant. And he said, you don't let me out, I'm gonna bust down that door. I said, you do what you gotta do, but you are not getting in that door without a warrant. Anyway, he left, threatened me with CPS. A guy with a gun threatened to bust down my door, a policeman, and then he tried to scare me with CPS. Who do these people think they're doing with? And then
Right. Who do these people think they are?
Yeah, and then, like I said, the police, once they got the writ and the court order, which gave them supposedly every legal means to get in there, they refused to act on it. But they told CPS how to get around the law, but getting the sheriff's department to do it for them. So my wife was resisting anything that night as a felony kidnapping under color of law.
You can see why my reaction was not as calm as his, because he was at the store with what you just saw. He was at the store, so he didn't have to experience what you just saw.
Right.
Well, the only reason I was calm because I was going over every scenario in my head, and I knew that even if I took care, let's just put it that way, took care of these 3 officers, there's more outside, and 30 minutes there'd be 30 more, and 30 more minutes there'd be 300 more. There was no winning that night. So that's why, and I was in contact with a lawyer friend of mine while this was all going on once I got home. And we didn't let him in until finally, once we found out they had the writ in the court order, I let them in because he told me if you don't let them in, they're going to break down the door.
We didn't know they had a writ when they were at the door, actually. They didn't know about the writ of
No, we didn't, but he said, you know, when the sheriff's comes there, you're going to have to let them in or they are going to break down the door.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the only reason I let them in. Like I said, and I even told them, I don't appreciate you being here without a warrant. No warrant was ever involved here. And my understanding of the law has always been you need a warrant. Well, obviously, you know, they don't.
These bastards are operating under color of law, which is defined as illegal law. So and I think it's important for our viewers to know that.
Like I said, every time I see this, I just get pissed off all over again.
You and me both, man. I only saw it for the first time this morning. Oh man, it really enraged me. I can't believe people have the nerve to think they're above the law, that they can do anything they freaking want. That's ridiculous.
Like I said, anybody can see all the rights that are violated there, but the bottom line, at the end of the day, those children are sent to the ER and they got a clean bill of health, and that's just the facts.
Why they didn't have to get examined? We didn't want them examined. They were fine.
No, they're fine.
They forced an examination.
And once they find out they're fine, do they apologize? Do they get back? No, they double down.
Yeah, 4 days after that, they send them the passport.
Yeah, Coach, when you send them passports, she'll come up with something.
Yeah, we haven't seen our younger one. We have yet to see the medical records on our younger one from him.
From Passmore, we've never seen that. That's never seen the light of day. But like I said,
of course not.
If that ER report had anything negative in there that they could use against us, it would have been a discovery. And it should have been discovered, even if it's to our benefit, but it wasn't. So they purposely tried to withhold evidence.
And it shows that the sworn affidavit, the one they were talking about in the video just now, that they had to type up. Yeah, it was showing perjury.
Yeah, because when she said that dark circle on the ER, no report of dark circles, no pictures, no nothing.
Wow. Yeah, that's just, you know, and I thought it was very, very unethical and unprofessional for them to be joking like that with the Tulsa Police Department. You know, look at how the guy was trying to mess with the cable connection. Like, really? Are you really that? Are you really that low? Are you really that you stoop that freaking low?
And just like you see, if you look through the front, which I didn't hardly notice at first time I saw the video, you see 2 policemen up front there, and they go over towards the door. So obviously they tried the door. So if that door had been unlocked, they'd come in there without a warrant or anything.
I have a question. What are they trying to say about the dark circles? I mean, does that prove?
Really, that was just because I exercised my right. And actually, that looked like because she had to get that to get in order. Yeah. Because she was on the phone.
I mean, does the black circles around the eyes presume neglect of some sort?
Yeah, the black circles state they imply that they're malnutrition.
Yeah, but like you said, once you went to the ER, there was no such thing.
So that's narrative, basically.
They hit the door anyway.
Right. Well, that's what they were doing outside. You can hear them. They're talking
They're
their narrative,
colluding.
what they're going to
Oh,
spin,
yeah.
what their story is. Those workers didn't, first they had the wrong name. I noticed they had a different name. I think they said like Kristen or something in the beginning, like at first.
Oh,
And
no,
then-
wait, if you're talking about Kirsty, Kirsty is the.
Is that the last name?
Hilton?
No,
It's the first name.
Oh,
I thought they were referring to you. I thought they
no,
first had the
no,
wrong
but they did
first
mention
name.
Kirsty. Mhm.
And then
Who was that?
they
Go
were
ahead.
talking, what they were doing was setting up the narrative.
Yeah.
In the story to what they were going to do. They had to say it all out loud so everybody knew what was going on. They didn't know why they were there. When she was calling in for that affidavit, she didn't even know what she was calling in and asking for.
She was asking for a verbal authorization.
She
What
didn't know
kind
what
of shit is
year,
that?
she didn't know how long they had been gone. I mean, she didn't know the case. So how are they going to come there and take
There
children?
were allegations, the neighbor at the time had reported the boys is looking skinny and, well, yeah, malnourished.
Yeah, like I said, I remember that. She came over and had some food. And this, like a neighbor, you be friendly, a neighbor shows offering you something, that shows just being courteous and friendly and neighborly. And when she brought the second time, it's just like, we really don't need any food.
We were not mad.
Maybe you didn't
No
enjoy
one was
cooking.
mad.
We weren't mad at her.
Maybe you didn't enjoy your cooking. I mean, so that warrants
No,
calling them. I mean,
the kids were fine. The kids had plenty to eat. We didn't need her stuff. The only reason I took it first time just to be neighborly.
Right. And didn't you guys tell me it was just to be courteous? And the second time it's because you didn't need it.
Yes, exactly.
And every time that I don't like as a general rule, I always try never to waste food as often as I can. So I want to every bit that we can, because to be wasteful is just not good, because you gotta I always try and tell my nephews and nieces, eat all your food before you get any dessert. I always try to make sure they eat all their food, and I try to live by that rule myself. It's just like so I get that.
Okay.
And it would be wasteful to take on food that you knew you didn't need and just for it to sit there and spoil.
Yeah, but now it looks like she was doing that because she thought the kids needed to eat.
Right.
And that's what it seems like to me.
I mean, whatever happened to love thy neighbor?
Because she wasn't quite right in the head.
Yeah. And the thing is, so since she evidently reported that, and then the worker came, the long blonde hair, she came November by herself, November 2019. And in between that time and January 10th, 2020, they went to go look at the medical records without our consent and discovered that we had not gone to wellness checks. Our kids are fine, and they're just assembly line for vaccines. But we hadn't gone there. And so they were reported as looking skinny. So they come back and try to get them there. They come with men with guns, trying to scare me.
And once again, the same worker, Kirsty, who's the same one who signed off on the ER report.
Yeah.
In court, she continued the narrative, said that they looked malnourished and they had dark circles around their eyes. And our lawyer even pointed out to her that the ER report said different. And she said, well, that's a difference of opinion. Well, lady, you're the one who signed off on the ER report for CPS, meaning you agree with it.
It's
Then you say the opposite in court. That's called perjury.
And they disregarded our evidence.
And like I said, you can't tell me that the DA and the judge didn't both know that she's perjured herself at that time. Because she's saying opposite what the ER report says, and she's the very one who signed off on it.
Right.
Well, of course,
Absolutely.
the DA knows this because the DA is the one that tried to withhold the ER report. And the judge, that piece of work, is the same one that changed our sworn testimony on the final judgment.
Oh, geez.
And made sure we couldn't appeal. She
Wow.
arranged things to make sure to mess up our appeal. So
That's more evidence of collusion and fraud among court.
Mhm.
Wow. Yeah, it's crazy. Ever since I started covering this issue 3 months ago, it's like, at first I was like, and I always try, I don't ever try to make any judgment until I know the facts, so I started looking into it because I wanted to do my due diligence. And then I started uncovering, especially with Angie's case, everything that she showed me, all the proof. And I'm like, holy shit, they're really doing this. They're really trying to do this crap. I mean, this is not, all in people's head. This is really happening. And it's really corrupt. I mean, it makes you really wonder, how far does it go all the way up and down? Well, if these bastards are operating under color of law, which is illegal law, by the way, and then in Angie's case, for example, we're going to get into that in her segment. Her lawyer basically tried to label her a sovereign citizen, which is clearly not the case, simply for trying to represent herself.
Right.
And then also after that, very shortly thereafter, she got those emails, which we're going to be premiering those, and on the end clip that Megan Fox did, where she also smeared her, calling her sovereign citizen. So we're going to expose that tonight too, folks. So yeah, it's just I can't believe. Oh wow, it's just, who would have imagined it would get this far? Do you want to put anybody else? You want to put your 2 cents in on this, Vicci or Angie?
I'm taking it all in.
Oh, no worries, no worries.
It was very obvious when they were all saying how the second they were saying that the mother was scaring the children, I busted out laughing.
No, because that's what they're doing.
It was obvious.
Yeah.
So for second video, they came in first of the day, and the first video is when they came back later that evening after they got the warrant.
That's later that evening.
That's how that. Okay,
Like
that's what I thought. So that was all in the same day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, approximately 7 hours after the mom's being crazy, the kids are in danger, but 7 hours later, they get picked up.
Well, they didn't even know why they were there. I found that really interesting.
What?
When the lady was calling in to get the warrant, so they could kick in the door and take you to jail and take your kids. The okay to come in and steal your children. She didn't know what she was calling about. She didn't know the case. She didn't have the correct year. She didn't know how long they kept your kids. They didn't know anything except for you didn't take some food from a neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
And they were
it was said that they were they looked skinny, and like I said, Kirsty the blonde had looked at our medical records, the boys' medical records, and saw that they had not been to a wellness check. So they were there to take them to a wellness check with their child snatching, child abuse pediatrician.
But like I mentioned, they say, oh, they look so young. They're far smaller. Well, guess what? If they are small, I'm not saying they're small, but if they are small, how come they both well within their weight for their age group? If anything, they're fat.
I don't understand what them looking small warrants anything.
Yeah,
there's a lot of little boys that are really young, and then
it doesn't warrant anything.
Break down that door, take her to jail, and get the kids. That's the bottom line.
I found it interesting. Is my interpretation of the law, my understanding is that it's not, I'm flipping on you here a little bit. It's regarding them arresting you. It's not obstruction of justice or obstruction of them coming in. You don't have to let them in until they have a warrant.
Yeah, and they only had a writ of they never had a warrant. Yes, you're right. Yeah, they only had a writ of assistance, emergency court order.
Well, see, that's the way I always heard it. And the American Constitution and the state constitution both say you have to have a warrant. And then all of a sudden, we just need a writ of court order.
Yeah.
Whatever happened to warrants?
And the reality is you have to have, it cannot be false information.
Yeah.
You have to have a crime committed.
Even then, it would have been based on a false affidavit.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. There was no crime committed.
No.
Well, CPS is making their own rules now.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And I might mention this lady who made the affidavit, there were multiple people said they saw that they looked malnourished and had dark circles around their eyes. Multiple people can't see what's not there because it's proven in the ER report this is false. Multiple people said they saw what cannot be seen.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But the person who swore on the affidavit, which allowed them to get the writ and the court order, we had no proof that she was ever there. None.
Yeah, so you have multiple people seeing things that are not there, and then multiple people saying, in fact, medical professionals saying that's not the case.
Right, but the person who swore on it, there's no proof she was ever there. We don't even know she was there that day.
Yeah.
That night.
Yeah.
She never testified in court.
Yeah.
Never showed up. I never have recognized that. Well, this person. Well, that's her. I don't know.
Well, then it's hearsay and it has to be thrown out.
You would think.
There's so many ways it should have been thrown out from the beginning, but it never was. When we first got the ER report, we took it to my lawyer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and tried to get thrown out, and she said, "Well, you're not doctors."
Oh, yeah, our friends had looked over it.
Yeah, just before we had to take him to a doctor.
I know, and our friends had looked over it, and she said, well, did they have credentials?
Mhm. And even after we did have it taken to a doctor and looked over, well, that doctor didn't testify in court, and he's not Passmore. You know, the God pediatrician.
Yeah, he's not their pocket buddy.
Yeah. They put it this way, Passmore, here's $2. We know what you are now, we're just negotiating.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. I mean, I cannot believe like the level of collusion and corruption we're seeing. I mean, like how far gone do you got to be able to just say, oh, I'll take the money and collude with this narrative? It doesn't. I mean, it's almost like these people have no moral compass anymore, or never had one to begin with.
They're also put in a corner of, that's their paycheck and how they support their families, and they'll lose their house, they'll lose their mortgage. Yep. They'll lose their credibility. They'll lose their license. They'll end up where we are.
Right. That actually ties into the coercion aspect of it from the higher ups that would smear them or make it almost impossible for them to find work if they didn't do as they were asked. Yeah. So you're absolutely right.
And we went to about the various highest levels you could go in DHS, writing about this. And they investigated themselves, and guess what? They found no wrongdoing.
Oh, how convenient! They investigated themselves. Yeah. That's like what the mainstream media is doing with the whole, when people are calling out the whole narrative with the 19 thing going on, the last couple of years, and it's like there was one article I seen not too long ago where it was by Tim Pool on one of the Timcast show podcast, and he was calling it out, and he was explaining, well, what they basically called up CDC, and we were like, did you guys do this? Well, of course they're not going to freaking admit to it. I mean, come on. You don't ask the criminal you don't have the criminal investigate themselves, or you don't ask the criminal if they committed the crime, because obviously they're going to deny it. You want to put some? Anybody? You want to put a little bit more? Anybody want to put in any more thoughts or input on that? Are you, Dottie?
Yeah, I wanted to give me 1 second. I wanted to show you, because the dark circles, I know that you guys say it's for malnutrition and stuff, but what it reminded me of is, have you heard of the Panda Eyes that these kids get when they're abused and trafficked? Well, a lot of people don't know these things. They're not aware of them. So I pulled up this. It's in the Urban Dictionary. I pulled up this image and this definition, so we can make some people aware of it. Do you know what I speak of, Stephen?
Actually, this is news to me. I've not heard of this, so you're gonna figure out. You're gonna have to share with all of us, because this is new to me. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty scary. We've heard about it.
All right, can I share my screen?
Yeah, you should be able to. I already enabled screen sharing for multiple participants, so you're good to go.
Share. Hold on.
Yeah.
Huh. Could you zoom in so we can read that?
I'm trying to
control and then scroll. There you go. Perfect. It's a little blurry though.
Yeah, I see this. Hold on, see if I can fix it. But this is, something that happened to these kids. I mean, so when they're talking about black circles around the eyes, this is what I thought of. Let me see if I can fix this.
Yeah, that's like interesting. So what?
No,
not really. Why don't you? Can you read it on your end?
No, it's blurry on my end. I don't know why.
Oh crap! You know what? Try scaling it up a lot bigger than that box that it's in. Try scaling it up, maybe double the size. I think that should fix it.
Let's see.
It's a pixelation issue because of downscaling.
I think.
It might be a bad copy too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where'd you get it from?
So I pulled it off the internet. Let's see. So this one.
There we go. We can read that.
Yeah.
Perfect. Why don't you go ahead and read that for us, Dottie?
Oh, go ahead.
No, you want me to read it?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, we'll do. It's pedophile slang for child sodomy. When a child is forcibly sodomized, their eyes can welt to black circles due to the blunt trauma involved, making their eyes look like that of a panda. There's even apparel selling online that says Panda Eyes on it for the pedo community. Oh my God, that's so sick. Many pedophiles joke about this online when talking about kids. There's many symbols and codes they use to let other pedophiles know their perverse preferences. Cheese pizza tells others they like little girls. Oh my God. While pepperoni pizza says they like little boys. That's just makes me sick to my stomach. I can't believe this, people are this fucking gone. Excuse my language. Oh my God. Hashtag, I'm not going to say, just Panda is often used by pedosexual media or social media accounts. Oh my God. That's so sick. Ugh. Oh my. So why don't you go into a little bit more depth on, explain the background and how you found out about this and what you think is the context and how it relates to what's going on with this whole issue.
Well, I just found out it because it's been in the news, because they'll show like famous people with it. They'll have black eyes, and that's how I first came about it. Was
wow, well that's interesting because that ties right into the whole thing.
Doing the makeup as black eyes, but you'll also see a lot of them with just one black eye, and this is how I seen it at first, and then I read about it a little bit, and I have never seen it in person. Like, I have no firsthand knowledge of the fact, but I don't doubt it. I don't doubt
it. Doesn't surprise me one bit, to be honest. No. I mean, considering what we've already seen regarding this issue and celebrities.
Just what we've gone through in the family court and what happens. And yeah, I don't doubt it. So because we know they have the Illuminati already has the one eye symbolism. So.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely.
That the dark circles, it just triggered this in my mind. So I just figured, we talk a little bit about it and make people aware that this happened. These are happening. If you see this kind of stuff, that is what's happening with these kids. That, what is it? You see something, say something.
Right. It's funny how they've inverted that on people, that whole phrase, because remember, when they first started talking about it after 9/11, and then now look what they're doing. They're completely inverting it. And trying to, with this court corruption, and kind of be like, it's a psychological game. I mean, to some degree, like the way they love to invert everything that is supposed to be, used to, like, that most people think are for good. And in reality, what these corrupt people are doing is they're inverting, and it's the exact opposite of what the mainstream or most people think it means,
Right. Yeah. Well, whatever you are told, just know it's the opposite, right?
Yeah, it's how these bastards operate. Is they invert reality and project all their own guilt onto the victims.
And another thing, it's like universal law. They have to tell us what they're doing before they come against us. Or
there's that too.
So to me, this is just more of them having to tell us what's happening before they're allowed to bring these kind of things against other people. So that's all this stuff is just so they can do it. It's their hall pass kind of,
Yeah, it's sick. It's really sick.
That's all I had for that.
Oh no, you're fine. Did anybody else want to put any more input on that before we go into Dottie's updates with her story?
One thing, DHS is still maintaining the same narrative about malnourishment and dark circles, except they've changed it. It's no longer dark circles around the eyes. It's dark circles under the eyes.
Of course, and more inconsistencies.
If you're going to lie, get your lies straight and stick to your story.
Yeah.
Because you're still maintaining the malnourishment, but you've changed the dark circles now. You just are under the eyes. No, it's dark circles around the eyes, which you never have no proof for whatsoever. They went to the ER, got clean bill of health, not one mention of dark circles around the eyes. But they should have. Even at that time, okay, we messed up. We made a mistake. We should give children. Oh no. Let's give them the passmore to give us a reason to hold on to these children. Now here we are going past 2 years, still finding it, and it has wiped us out emotionally, financially. And they put you in a position where you can't fight back financially. And then they said, well, tough. Here you are. Here we are.
Yeah. And just today we had to visit our boys, and the worker was giving us a hard time about transportation as far as like to get overnight visits. And they're setting it up so that we don't.
Yeah, they're setting up once again another roadblock to prevent us from getting overnights, which would lead into trial reunification, which would end this fiasco.
Yeah, it's pretty clear they ain't interested in us. I mean, in us having our children.
No,
it's pretty clear. I mean, yeah.
I mean, it's pretty obvious that it's a racketeering and, you know, and fraud and all, and a whole bunch of other different kind of crime scheme, you know?
Yeah, and back in January, when we had the team meeting, yeah, they made it look like the kids could come home pretty soon.
Yeah.
And then the day he said it'd be 2.5 months before they'd come home.
Because
2.5 fucking months.
Yeah, I remember seeing that on your signal chat. I was like, what the heck? Then what was it they told you before? Before that, what was the timeline that they were saying?
So that the trial unification where they come home would be sooner than that.
Yeah.
See, what happened at the meeting, they got thrown off because they were asked, is there any safety issue with this family? No. What prevents them from being unified? And they couldn't come up with an answer. All they come up, well, we want them to be more involved in Nigel's therapy. That's all they had. But then once they started thinking about, we gave up too easy. Then they started, we want to do this and this and this and this and this and that. But on the team meeting, basically, well, all you gotta do is just start going to his therapy more. Okay, well, we can do that. We don't really believe his therapy is the best thing for him, but we'll do that. But no, they always gotta add some more to it.
Yeah, now they're expecting us to buy a car or something.
Yeah. First, one of the reasons they said, you don't have enough furniture, you don't have a TV. What, you got a TV now to get your children back? And now they say, well, you don't have a car, so you can't have your children back.
Of course. It's always something with these bastards. Hey, I don't know if you're aware of this, Vicki, but Nigel is autistic as well. Is that correct? You guys?
Yeah, autistic or neurological damage, however you want to put it.
He does not talk.
This is way down on the spectrum, way up on the spectrum, however you want to put it.
There's hardly really no functioning.
Right.
There's one word that solves your transportation issue legally. Uber.
Yeah, but that would still cost money, right?
There you go. But they'd probably come up with an excuse for that one too.
They would have to have car seats in the Uber. And if they were our car seats, they'd have to be put in there before they can drive off, taken out before they can leave, then put back in before we get back in, and then take it out when we get to our
Uber
destination.
does it all the time. Have the car seats follow the kids.
What?
Uber does it all the time. Have the car seats follow the kids.
There you go.
That's that's good.
That'd be good. That might be a good solution. Yeah.
And we can look into that in the future. That sounds really good, but it would still cost money.
There's still some money because we're talking about sending our youngest to school every day and sending the oldest to therapy every day. And this is outside of town.
Yeah, and I even said we can homeschool instead. We can homeschool. I told him that.
Right.
And he said, well, you still have to plan for the future, and even for TR and trial unification. I mean, he's you can tell what he's doing there. He's playing. He's psychologically aimed right there.
Yep.
No matter what I say.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
They just try to trying to make us feel guilty for not having a lot of money to be able to afford whether it's Uber, cabs, anything.
Well, we have no money, but we spend it all legally to fight you people. And you guys nowhere.
Yeah, and all he can say anytime we bring up anything like that is, well, you don't need to revisit anything like that. We're talking about the future.
Yeah, and every time we try to talk about what's going on right now, they bring up 2016.
Yeah.
Of course they do.
Yeah, they don't want us looking at the past.
Classic misdirection.
Yes, exactly.
What you just seen in that video? They brought up the past.
Misdirection.
Yeah, they did. They did. Was there any abuse? Is there any physical abuse? Are you serious? Man, that neighbor, I swear, what a freaking busybody and Karen. What are you, Donnie?
One time she actually came to our door, and my younger one, and he was 3 at the time, he came over behind me, toward my leg, like he was trying to hide from her. Like, mommy, protect me, something like that.
Yeah, he was scared of them, not you.
Yeah, and he's pretty open child about dealing with other people, and there's something there that kind of threw him off. He didn't want her around.
Because he picked up on it. You know, kids can pick up on that stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a very smart child.
Even now. And at the age of 3, he was drawing circles under our instruction. And remember, he's the one that at age 1, they asked him to draw a circle. And then he was referred to occupational therapy because he couldn't.
Yeah, 1-year-old can't draw a circle and they want to say no.
I mean, my little brother couldn't draw a circle at 1-year-old. Are you kidding me?
Unfortunately, we're not.
I know, but we don't vaccinate, so you know.
These and other reasons is why we quit going to.
Yeah,
No,
I don't blame you one bit.
That's where we're ever at.
I don't blame you one bit.
We got people at our door seeing what you just saw.
And we even had one doctor drop us because we wouldn't vaccinate.
Yeah, that was Nigel early on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, wow, man, the level that these people are going to is just almost unfathomable until you see it for yourself, you know?
Yeah, and that last video also, that body cam footage there from the morning, they had sent it, that was after the trial. We were trying to get it before the adjudication trial, that would have helped, but, or maybe not.
Right.
But, I mean,
Maybe not.
I mean, you never know, you know? I mean, it's probably not, but you know,
Well,
you
they
work the
definitely
shot.
had to have been scared because we didn't get it till after, and even then, they sent us on a wild goose chase. We
Yeah.
had to go, they told us to go down to City Hall.
Right.
Well, we went there, but yeah.
Yeah,
City
and
Hall.
they stamped in everything, and that's not even the way you do it. The city hall should have known immediately that that was not right.
Yeah.
Vicci, why don't you what you tell the chances or Chanson and Reggie what you were telling me the other day about how they wait and they hide until the investigation is over and where they can't get a hold of you and then they come back like nothing ever happened?
Yeah, in California here, what we've learned is when the abuser is abusing the child, CPS starts an investigation. And what we've learned in watching the father, like when they were investigating the father for the porn issues with my son, the abuser leaves, they wait. I don't remember how many days, 120 days? I think it's 3 months, maybe 90 days.
Yeah, that sounds about right, I think.
If they can't get a hold of the alleged abuser and they can't clarify anything, then they have to close the case as being inconclusive. In my case, the father's got lots of those inconclusives because he kept disappearing, and yet they handed the child to him anyway afterwards. It was like it's like it never happened. So it's something that the abusers have learned to do, and it's just I don't even know the words for it. This whole thing is just shocking.
There are no words for it. I mean, just how sick it is. There's not, I mean, I don't think words could really do it justice because of how just gross and negligent and just such an injustice and such the level that it's gone to. I don't think words really do it justice, like you say. You know, there are no words. I mean, the only thing I could even come up with was insidious, but that's not even a good enough descriptor, you know, to describe that level that this has gone to.
Yeah.
So, Dottie, do you have all your stuff queued up, ready to go for your segment and your updates? Dottie, Earth to Dottie.
Here, I'm here.
Are you ready to go with your segment?
Folder. I thought you had the folder.
I know I have. I don't know where those the graphics I was looking at I had for our. But just bring up your simple booklet and your you know, and because that's all in the it's all there, right? And that's one of that 2021 simple booklet you made.
Yeah.
The emails. Yeah, bring that up because I can't find. I don't know. After I had to do a clean install of Windows last week. I don't know where I'm not sure. I can't remember where I put those resources. They're somewhere. I just don't know yet. I have to look. But we'll do a follow up next week and with those graphics and stuff that we had put together initially a few months back that we didn't end up airing because you said you weren't ready yet. So we'll definitely put something together even more in depth. I think they would be great. It just, you know, I can't find them right now, unfortunately.
Okay. You want to open it up? Start talking about it.
I don't even know if I have the link. Can you want to screen share? Or did you send me the link on?
Are we going to?
The simple booklet, right? Because we're going to be
I have
doing
that. I'm saying, do you want to open up the conversation?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Okay. Yeah, gotcha. Okay. So basically, let's just give people a little background. A few months back, when I initially did Angie's first interview for my show on January 1st, you know, as we were, you know, I did that and we did the interview and then we did a couple follow, you know, we did, we kept in touch and kind of, she was giving me more and more evidence and stuff. And as we got, you know, she was telling me more about her story. She told me about how Megan Fox and Mike Bope had interviewed her or had her on or was telling her story. And then all of a sudden, what time frame was that? And when they stopped doing that, when Fox you as a
shortly after this press conference. So
okay, it was like June or July, was it not? Or maybe even
well,
August?
no, it was 420.
Okay, so it was about a year ago then.
Yeah.
Okay.
420.
That's ironic. So basically, because it's your story, I want you to tell the viewers what happened on play for them the back. Start off with the emails, and then that Avita sent you, and then segue into the that clip on Megan Fox's podcast where it's very clear that Avita had told her something, or somebody got somehow I think she got to, and was either given an ultimatum or paid off. I don't know. But based on the fact that she stopped podcasting on this issue, I'm more likely in my mind that she probably finally realized that, oh crap, I got in way more deep, and this goes far deeper than I ever imagined. At least that's probably what I would be saying to myself in this situation, which would make sense if she's considering she started doing a podcast on Sex in the City. I mean, so it's just saying, but so I want you to show our viewers the emails and then kind of make that connection with the Fox podcast to expose it.
Well, they started my story, and then I got arrested the second time. And Avita Tolu, when I was in jail, she stepped up and pro bono and said, that she was my attorney, and she stepped in, started to represent me. When I got out of jail, I asked her to take herself off the case, that I couldn't do what I wanted to do. I couldn't move in law with her on the case. That would stop me from being able to represent myself and file my own any motions or anything lawfully that I wanted to do. I couldn't do that with her re-representing me in the court. So she kept telling me to apply for these public defenders. I've applied for public defenders a couple of times. And then I asked Avita Tolu to come off again, and I wrote this notice of termination. Well, Avita and I were talking, and I ended up getting indicted by the grand jury. And I didn't know this. I ended up finding out my indictment through Delilah's uncle, the man that took her from Missouri to Arizona. He text messaged me a message telling me that I had been indicted. I didn't have any knowledge of the indictment at this point. And then so I asked Avita about this. I have to find the emails. I thought Stephen had them. These are all.
Go ahead, Johnny. Take it. Go ahead and find it. Because I want to read some of our viewers' comments, that the suggestions that they have. Some of our viewers have for the Bowles family. So are you still there, you guys?
We're here. We're here.
All right. So Valerie K. Metler has said, if on Medicaid, you don't have to have a car. That's what public transportation is for. And then if on Medicaid, the children that they have, if the children are on Medicaid, they have people that will help with rides to appointments, school, grocery, etc. Don't let these assholes get you. They want to upset you so you can't think clearly, so they can get away with this crap. And then she has a follow-up comment. Please take your case and get it into the federal courts. A Section 1983, or unsurprisingly, a civil rights claim.
Yeah, we've been trying the 1983 thing.
Okay, cool. Right on.
And as far
Awesome.
as, and the transportation issue is a little more complicated, because they're saying that's how they're not offering to take them to give them overnight. I mean, get them to back and forth to overnights with us. And
Right.
Are the pathway towards trial reunification.
So they're basically stonewalling you guys.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, and besides that, trial reunification was supposed to happen long before mid-June.
Yeah.
So that right there is my red flag. That's a red flag, I would say.
Right. Yeah, no, totally.
I'm tired of these people. I want my
I
children
know. I mean, just from seeing all the crap they've done to families like you, and the Bowles family, and you, Angie, and then you, Vicci, and then many others. It's just it really enrages me, and it just gives me more drive to want to go after these bastards, because we have they're being really sloppy about this, and we can prove a lot of this. So I mean, it's basically comes down to us making it happen and exposing them, en masse to the masses. I mean, I think that's going to be ultimately their downfall but we got to keep fighting until there's justice and accountability, and keep pressing the issue. I'm going to read the rest of her comment because I think it's relevant. So generally, to bring a civil rights claim, you have to show Two things. A state actor, someone acting on behalf of the government, deprived you of your federal rights, such as your constitutional rights. They acted under color of law. These requirements are explained below. Deprivation of rights. The first element you have to prove is that CPS violated your federal rights. The two constitutional rights come into play more than other federal rights. You have the right to be free from unreasonable searches and seizures. Yep. Under the Fourth Amendment, if that CPS caseworker didn't have any reason to believe that your child was in imminent danger and removes them anyway, then that would be an unreasonable search, and the removal would violate your Fourth Amendment rights. She's absolutely right there. You have the right to due process under the Fifth and 14th Amendments, among other things. That means that the government has to treat you fairly, such as by giving you notice of what it plans to do and the chance to present your side before they act. Removing a child permanently without telling the parents first and giving them the chance to object would violate their due process rights, acting under color of law. The Second Amendment element, the second element is that CPS was acting under color of law. That essentially means that the caseworker was acting on behalf of the state when they took action. CPS caseworkers are employed by the state, and their job is to conduct child protection investigations. Generally speaking, they act under color of law when they interact with families. If you can prove these two elements, you may be able to bring a civil rights lawsuit against CPS in federal court. And Valerie is asking what state you guys are in. Would you like to tell her for us?
Oklahoma.
Okay. Thank you, Valerie. We appreciate your input very much.
Yeah, and I'd like to say that they were acting as a, well, I mean, and even anytime I talk to certain lawyers about like civil lawsuit, and I'm not saying I'd have to rely on a lawyer, but some of the ones I've talked to, I've said I mean, I don't know, they've acted like they had a right to get the kid because of what was being claimed about how they look skinny. So they come back, and it was discovered, of course, that they had not been to a wellness check in quite a while, and they were reported as looking skinny. So it's almost as if they believe that DHS had the right.
Yeah, but that was ignoring the fact they perjured yourself in sworn affidavit.
Yeah,
they perjured yourself in court. They withheld evidence, and they changed their sworn testimony, and they made sure we couldn't appeal. Now, how many more rights you need to violate?
Yeah, and even if they hadn't done all that, the fact that they were there, they have to have our consent. Unless you see, the way I would see it is, unless you see that they are actually really fucked up. I mean, you know what a child would look like if they, well, not like that. I mean,
right.
You know what I'm saying? They didn't look like that.
No, you're absolutely right.
Why did they? Yeah. So why do they need to be checked out by anyone? Just because a neighbor reports something and they had not been to a wellness check, why do you need to come back and try to force an unwanted medical check on us? Why?
Right.
So like I said, if there was something wrong with children, they wouldn't have had to lie like they did.
Right. Would you guys like to touch, just kind of explain to our viewers what they were claiming about Nigel not being able to walk or make any forward motion, and how the videos from the police body cams contradict that statement and those claims?
That was 2016 that they made those.
Okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
As you saw, mid-June of 2016, those,
Yeah, you got the video of him walking around in the playpen.
Yeah.
And like I said, and they also made that same lie in 2020 when he was on the ground and said he was so weak from malnutrition that Tamsin had to help him up. No, he didn't know that he needed to get away from these crazy people at the door.
Right.
Tamsin had to lift him up by the arm. That's the autism.
Yeah,
right.
They omitted that they saw the fact that they saw, which is proven by camera footage, that they saw both boys walking around before I helped Nigel off the floor.
Exactly. Walk around, jumping, hopping, everything.
They didn't think we'd ever get any footage.
Right.
The worker's phone, she brought that into trial. And like I said, I think that's just a matter of look what I can get away with. You're fucked.
Yeah. Oh, she was basically rubbing it in your faces, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the black one you saw that was trying to get the verbal order. That was her.
That's why I said when I first saw this video.
The one that was on the phone or the heavy set one?
Hold on. What?
The one that was on the phone or the heavy set?
The one on the phone.
Okay, gotcha.
When I first saw the video, I was thinking, why did she present it in court? It didn't help her case any, but basically, I guess it's like she said, look what we can do and get away with. If we're going to show it in court, there's nothing you can do about it.
She didn't even testify or anything. Oh yeah, and she didn't even come back. Yeah, she's claiming that the kids are running toward her. I believe she's the one claiming that.
Right.
And she didn't come back.
Of course she didn't.
Yeah,
of course she
the
didn't.
other ones did, but and a different one, but not her. But she's one saying the baby's running toward her and all this stuff. And first one saying something about dark circles. Oh, and she's scared that if she leaves,
Something's going to happen. Like, get the heck out of here with that crap.
they did leave. They came and went for 7 hours, about 7 hours. They came and went.
Yeah, I know. And explain to our viewers just briefly why the Tulsa Police Department did not come back and why it was the sheriff's deputy police that came.
Because the things they'd done earlier, like telling my wife that she didn't have the right to a lawyer, that they didn't need a warrant, that she didn't talk to these state agents, they would arrest her and take the children. Right then, by making all these statements, they had lost their qualified immunity. Because there was a case in Kentucky that was very similar, and they did pretty much the same thing, although that mother was coerced into opening the door. And when it came to court, it showed that because they'd done these things, they lost their qualified immunity. And the police knew this, so if they had acted on the written court order, then it would have been thrown out in court. Well, and they would have been in trouble.
Or at least they would have, or maybe they would have lost their, maybe they just would have lost their jobs.
Yes.
Oh,
so instead, let's tell CBS, okay, we're not going to do this, but here's how you can get around the law by getting the sheriff's department to do it for you. Once again, acting under color of law. They knew it was wrong. They knew they didn't have the legal right to do it, but here's how you get around that fact.
So that ties right into the videos that Angie was showing us last week on the ones from the Missouri AFC. Was it the AFCC?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you kind of just briefly touch base on that and just verbally and kind of how that ties into what they're talking about.
Those are the child traffickers, basically, of the family court. They started in the what was it, the 60s? Do you remember? Like 68, I believe, in San Diego, California. One of the founding members was a Supreme Court judge at the time. So what you have is you have your lawyers, your psychologists, your doctors, your social workers, your GALs, just anybody that has to deal with the family law. They're all a part of this organization within the court. So it's court within a court, and they write all the literature that they teach. They teach these classes, but as we've seen, it's more of a mob meeting, criminal enterprise meeting of the minds. They're not really learning anything. They're learning how to come against us, take our rights away from us, how to get around things, how to get around HIPAA violations and laws. And, and then, they talk about the big umbrella that they have for, the best interest of the child that they have to hide under, that should cover any of their problems. Well, this is the AFCC. That was their lunch and learn. They're the ones that create all the laws. They work real close with lawmakers. And they're the ones that have set family court up to be exactly what it is today. And they continue to do that and control it. So, there's a front on the outside, but there's a secret black hat operation going on in the back court where they're talking in judges' chambers, deciding your case before, you ever even see a judge. They're deciding where they're going to get their profit from, what they're going to do. And they don't care at any cost for the child, the parent. It doesn't matter. They'll drain your banking account. They'll destroy your child. They'll destroy you. They will come after your home. They will go after your job. They will go after everything. They will make you destitute, where you have nothing to offer, or will make you feel that you have nothing to offer, So and this is the people that are doing it at the AFCC. They're your, judges, everything. I mean, there's a judge in the video that's colluding with these people. Basically they're colluding because in the video, they're talking about a case that they mentioned in the other GAL call that came out of St. Louis, where they're colluding in another case, so it's like all this, it's all on tape. It's like you have these criminals, either they're sloppy and they're not paying attention to what they're doing, or they really just think they're above the law and they don't care and it don't matter. They're going to film this stuff. It's going to be out there. Everybody's going to know, but nobody's going to be able to stop them. Why? Because they're bigger than the law. They're bigger than us. It's either that or they're just very sloppy in what they're doing, because this video with the other video is really, the two together is just, it's terrible. Like, we have them. Why are they still working with our children? Why are they still working in our courthouses? Why are these people not taking responsibility for their actions. There's always consequences for your conduct. And these people, you know, without accountability, there's no change. So until we get accountability, well, we're never going to have change in this. And they don't want to take that accountability because the people they have to answer to is working with them. So
Right, absolutely. Hey, I'm sending you. Oh, go ahead, you guys. Go ahead.
How do you make them stop?
I don't know.
And that's why we're doing the work we're doing, to try and expose these bastards and, you know, because I mean, historically, at least from when there's been this level of corruption, and like, well, not necessarily with the family court system, but this is a good example with what's happened with big pharma. The only way with that there's ever been real change is because, you know, I don't know if most people know this, but we don't, you know, they don't pay all the payouts for these, you know, families that have been injured by these by jabs. You know, it's the taxpayers that do, and that kind of the reason that they're so they just get away with it whatever they want. And the only real meaningful change has been through public outcry, at least regarding that particular subject. So I mean, that's kind of what we're trying to do here, because we're seeing corruption on such a grand scale. Like what can you do? You know, so we know it's the you know, the people, you know, we the people, you know, those of us that are in the alternative media trying to like expose, you know, the truth about what's going on, because of course the mainstream isn't even talking about it. It's being completely ignored. So you know, somebody's got to do it. So this is one angle from which we're trying to pursue that, to get justice to some degree. And then, you know, a couple of other things that we spoke about, you know, there's a couple of legal things you can do, like the federal lawsuit, for example, that one viewer had mentioned, and you know, a couple other aspects. But I mean, there's not much to go with. There are that much avenues, because they pretty much they blocked and stonewalled most people's normal options that they would otherwise rather, you know, be able to pursue.
Right. Well, they do block you.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I've got court early in the morning. I need to prep.
Yeah, go right ahead, Vicki. Thank you so much for staying on with us for so late. I know you've been a real trooper. We appreciate your input and everything else that you've done. And you know, thank you so much for being here. Well, I can't wait to do a follow up.
Thank you, Vicki.
And good luck. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good night.
Those emails, I haven't had a chance. Apparently I haven't put them in my book. So I don't know if you want to find your folder.
I was looking for it. I'll bring it up. I say, okay, so I found, I sent you the, why don't you start off by kind of like covering, just briefly screen sharing the link I sent to you in the Zoom chat. I sent you the link to that Velope post. That's that one that we viewed earlier in the week on Signal. So start off with that. And then while I get those documents up and those things.
Okay. I don't know anything about this post really.
But just kind of review it, go over it, and then kind of read it for our viewers, just, you know, the important segments, and then read the portion that, you know, where we post, where News for Us posted, and calling out what we're going to be exposing today.
I don't know. This post really doesn't, to me, doesn't have too much to do with one another.
Oh, I know, but I saw that somebody else was calling them out on some other stuff, and so I thought that's why, you know, I put the post regarding your case. I was, you know, 'cause I was kind of outraged at that, you know, that's the fact that what they did, and I felt that was a perfect opportunity to call them out, and it does kind of tie in at least the comment that we made on there, and you know, and we can segue into that cover up and expose it as one of the other commenters was requesting.
It's not pulling up.
It's all right. Just give it a second. Just refresh it.
Okay.
There we go. There we go.
This has something to do with Mike and some girl. I don't know much about this.
We kind of briefly go over it and then read the comment that we had put in there, you know, but that everybody in our signal.
It just talks about, Mike explained this, you pretend to care about parents, children, and definitely women, as you have had many victims. As most, you know, you have a baby on the way. It's time the truth comes out. You have retaliated against many women, taking money from them and turning against them. Just Google Mike Velope and people will see what comes up. You steal the Lion News articles. Do stories on women who you give money to, over $12,000 from fundraising money to several unfit mothers, 2 in North Carolina, Forsyth County, not doing any backgrounds on them. As many know, your parents pay 100% of your bills. You are 47 years old. You hide behind a screen while you are a predator yourself, abusing women, victim dating, and have not been honest with anyone who respects you still. And this is not okay. I have many more pictures and evidence to show the truth is coming out. That was the post.
Yeah, so explain for our viewers the relevance of why it is not right for a reporter that's supposed to be covering the human trafficking and corruption cases issue that's in reality is abusing women in that regard. Why is that unethical in a conflict?
Well, it is unethical, but I mean, we haven't heard from Mike Velope. I can't say if he's. I can't say
well,
that.
I mean, hypothetically speaking, let's say like if there is I'm not saying that there is because we can't prove anything.
You can't be the person abusing someone that you're fighting against. You can't be both of those. I mean, you can't be an abuser and fight for women not to be abused when you're abusing women.
Right. It's a conflict of interest, is it not?
It is a complete conflict of interest.
Okay. Why don't you go ahead and read that comment that I put on there, kind of so we can give people an introduction. I'm bringing up these documents right now.
I'm trying to find it. I mean, because I haven't seen any comments from Mike Velope on this, so I don't know. I'm not saying one way or the other. I'm just saying I don't.
Right. Well, we don't know, but I mean, I just thought it was interesting. I kind of wanted to point that out. I'll find it real quick. Oh, there. Wait. I think it's underneath the response. One of the first responses to. I think it was Lisa. Maybe scroll. It's at the top, I believe.
I'm not getting it.
Go to all comments. Click not most recent, but click all comments. That's what you want. That's where you'll find it.
I'm not seeing the first one.
No, I know, but you're gonna have to go down a little bit. Look where it says view 2 more replies. I think it might be Tina Marie that responds to that one, I believe.
That's all I have.
All right. Well, I'll find it. Don't worry.
Sorry.
No, it's fine.
That's all I have. I don't see. That's under all comments.
Yeah. No, I'll find it. Don't worry. I got it. Give me 1 second here. Do you? I know you have a hard copy of that that podcast that Fox did, correct? On one of your booklets, don't you?
No, I haven't gotten into the book yet.
Okay.
I would have to find it.
All right. So let's give me 1 second here. Oh, Facebook's not wanting to load for me today. What the heck? All right, hold on. Give me 1 second. I got it. I'm going to go and just screen share the screenshot that I did of the post, because I took a screenshot of it earlier in the week just to cover our bases in case we encountered this issue with not being able to find it again. So let me see, bring it up, and then I'm just going to read it for our viewers because oh crap, it's not see more. Okay, so it's going to be under a reply to Tina Marie, where she says, Kim Parker, so let me guess, you all dated him. What relevance does that have with his journalism? That's going to be a reply to that comment specifically. So let me see if I can get it up here real quick, because it's almost not legible. Okay, here we go. So let's see. 1 second, folks. Give me 1 second. I'm looking for it. For previous comments. Oh, here we go. I found it. All right, let me screen share real quick. All right, can everybody see that okay? Dottie?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right, so this is a response that I replied to this when Kim Parker, somebody by the name of Tina Marie replied to Kim Parker, who is calling Velope out. And she said, and there are many more I'm choosing not to tag Kim Parker. So Tina Marie says, Kim Parker, so let me guess, you all dated him. What relevance does that have with his journalism? And I replied, and this is not relevant to this particular circumstance, but I know I kind of like really I wanted to call him out, so here we go. Just look at the Angela Frenner case. Clearly, Evita Tolu got to Megan Fox, and Fox completely made baseless accusations calling Angie a sovereign citizen. Those are remarks Evita accused of Angela of in her emails before dropping her as a client. And we have the emails and documents to prove it. Evita got to Fox. Evita Tolu, Megan Fox, and quite possibly you as well, Mike, are all complicit in a cover-up, and it is very obvious. You did not speak out and were completely silent when Fox accused Angie of being a sovereign citizen, simply for representing herself. Where is your outrage? You are obviously controlled opposition. That's my opinion, that last statement there, of course. Now, she had replied, I think it was like a few days later, what is being covered up? So, Tina, here we go. We're gonna show you. So let me find these documents. Do you remember what the name of the document was? The emails from Evita were in, Angie, specifically, because I'm just trying to find it.
I try to keep everything by date, so it would have been by date.
Do you remember what day? What day and month? Was it like
June, April, something like that, somewhere in there.
All right, June or April. Okay.
Maybe May.
All right, 1 second here. Okay, here we go. So
when I was arrested, kind of like a lead up to that. When I was arrested,
go ahead. Give people the backstory behind that.
During my bond hearing, the prosecuting attorney was using saying that I was being evicted from my home, that I had gotten an eviction notice, that there were squatters there that were trying to get me out, and trying to use an eviction on my home for a reason to keep me in jail, so they can't, so they wouldn't release me from the jail. I had never been served with a paper yet, so I didn't know this was happening before I got, they wouldn't take me to my bond hearing, first off. So I wasn't there. So I didn't hear this at first. I didn't know I was being evicted until after court that morning. And I got released from jail and got into the car. And my boyfriend told me that there was a letter saying that we were being evicted that just came like that day. So for the prosecuting attorney to know about this before I knew about it, kind of weird. Being that it was my home that was,
right. No, definitely.
Affected. So they knew about it before me. Excuse me. And then it turns out that their lawyer that they were using, McLaughlin, is married to a judge that recused himself off my case, which he was working with Larry Mass. Larry Mass is the lawyer that Evita Tolu was working with on some of her lawsuits, I believe. That she introduced me to him and said that he was going to help me with my home. But in this whole time, colluding together to have me evicted from my house. So they were trying to make me homeless at this point. And this started from the second bond hearing when I was still in jail. This whole setup, this scenario of making Angie homeless started while I was in jail. Kind of twisted, isn't it?
It is. It really is. So I did find one of the relevant documents. I found the court document for Evita's reasoning for withdrawing as your.
That. Okay.
So why don't you we just share that real quick, because I have that too while I look for the rest.
What is this opening up? And hold on. Here is the email.
Share your screen. Share your screen.
Okay, 1 second.
These,
what I have here, what I'm getting ready to pull up, are the emails between like Evita and me and Larry Mass, the attorney, and then McLaughlin, the homeowner's attorney.
Explain what Evita did with your with what she tried to do to you in your home.
That's what this is. It's okay. So it starts off from this is to Larry Mass from Evita, with me being tagged onto it. And it says, Angela, I'm introducing you to Larry Mass. Larry Mass is my attorney who is helping is suing Blukowski and her friends. Larry has been helping me with draft motions in your criminal case, and he has graciously agreed to help with your eviction notice. Could you please reply in writing to this email to Larry? So because I get out of jail and now I'm faced with being evicted, right? Because they were trying to keep me in jail as part of their reasoning why they should not release me on bond in court.
Okay.
after I got arrested. So
Go ahead.
and there's all this communication back and forth. Avita eventually tells me that, oh, these emails stop. I wish I had this in my book. Avita eventually tells me that all I have to do is, because I was behind, because I was in jail. So the rent went out late and I was holding on to the money. I didn't know what was going on. Do I pay the rent and send it to him? Well, during all this, I cannot get a hold of my landlord. So there's a homeowner that Larry Mass is working with, his lawyer, which is the property owner. He owns the house. He had hired a management company to take care of the properties. So I dealt with a woman named Connie for all my rent, any maintenance or whatever. That was who I contacted. I never contact the homeowner ever. So during this, she tells me I can't get a hold of Connie. And I keep asking Avita and people, where is Connie? Why isn't Connie responding to me? Why can't I get a hold of my landlord? Well, Avita tells me everything's all right. It's been worked out to go ahead and send my money to the PO box where I've been sending my rent check. And I'm like, okay, so I send it there. And then she comes back later on and tells me that they want me to move out because they're going to put the house up for sale. So I tell Avita that I want to offer to buy the house. So they have this whole fake conversation with me about a down payment and how much he would want to buy this house for, like this whole fake conversation about purchasing the home, which never was even an option on the table. So, I mean, that's the kind of lengths that these people go to. They will play out the whole play. Like, I mean, they'll have conversations with you and everything to make you think something is happening when obviously something else is going on. So I'm sending money to the landlord's PO box. Well, finally, I get a court document or an email. I think it was an email with the landlord's email address. This is the first time I have contacted the actual landlord. Comes to find out that Connie died. My daughter was taken on the 5th. Connie died on the 6th. I was arrested on the 8th. I get out on the 29th. I can't find my landlord, right? So Connie passes away, but nobody's telling me this. So I'm sending my rent and everything to a PO box that is just sitting there. So my landlord, the homeowner, for some reason the connection hasn't been made that this money's sitting there. He doesn't know this. I don't have any contact with him until they sent me an email with him attached to it when he finally was like, and this is several months later. I'm talking like maybe 3 months later when he finally is like, okay, I have to take some kind of like preventative measures here in court. We're like 3-4 months. He tells me, my landlord ended up telling me that all communication with him was cut off in January, that all communication stopped in January. So they never communicated with my landlord. It was just these lawyers colluding between Avita Tolu, Larry Mass, and McLaughlin to have it had to be with the prosecuting attorney because they're the first ones to bring it up in the bond hearing of, why I should stay in jail.
Well, that's ridiculous.
But I have all the messages like where, you could see all of it. And this is the email from Avita. So when Avita quit on me, so she waited until I was indicted, which she never told me I was indicted. I found out from the uncle who took my daughter out of state, the one that actually physically trafficked my child.
Mm-hmm.
He's the one that told me about my indictment. Avita Tolu never informed me of this. And until I asked her about it. And then once I was indicted, she quit. At this point, I'm on a blacklist. There's been so much news media, the word spreading. Nobody wants to deal with this. Nobody's going to touch it, basically. You know what I mean? So I get blacklisted. There's nobody to call to even help me with my case. So when Avita, part of my bond, when I was released out on bond, part of it was that I cannot get in any trouble. Like if they find out that I've threatened any other people or anything like that, that I'm threatening people or a danger, that they're going to forfeit my bond and put me back in jail on the $75,000 cash only bond that they had me on.
Tell our viewers what they're claiming the threat was, and tell our viewers exactly what the words that you used in the email, which was not any kind of a threat. You just demanded accountability from the corrupt judge. That was
my
complicit.
charges were for tampering with a judicial officer. The day they trafficked my daughter from Missouri to Arizona, I sent an email to the judge telling her that she didn't have any right to traffic my daughter. She'd stepped over the line over any kind of immunity. She didn't have immunity because she was trafficking my daughter, and that there would be consequences for her conduct. Well, she already had a hatred for me. This judge did.
Right. Because you challenged her authority.
Then I released not the phone call, but the audio recording of the court hearing back in February, where she's forcing my daughter to go with her abuser, telling her that she was going to put me in jail, which she did, and she'd have no other choice but to go home with her abuser. And when she refused, she put her in a mental ward. So I released that. So that's already been released. Megan Fox has already done a story. By the time all this happens, excuse me. So she has me arrested, but she had recused herself off the case 3 days prior to my email and her recusal. So she recused herself on the 5th, the 3rd. I wrote the email on the 5th. I was arrested on the 8th.
So what was the date for when she recused herself, or when she dropped you as a client in the court officially?
So this is the email between me and, I believe, I know it's Evita. I believe this is the email where she is quitting. Yeah, because she gives me all these places to contact for help. So yeah, so this was May 8th.
Is the email that she called you a sovereign citizen in those?
Yeah, this is the email.
All right, sweet. Read that for our viewers, because I think that's one where I can't seem to find. No, but the specific one where she said, "I cannot no longer represent you because you're if you continue to go down this road, they'll label you as a sovereign citizen."
Said, Angela, I reviewed the petition you left with me last week regarding filing for declaratory relief with the Supreme Court of Missouri. I tried to read it, but honestly, I could not understand what it said and what relief it requested. Whoever drafted it has no training in law. The document advances many of sovereign citizens' arguments. These arguments are extremely dangerous, and they will not only hurt you. They will only hurt you. I cannot be affiliated with people who advance these arguments. You cannot be affiliated with these people who advance these arguments. See below the link on these arguments. And then she gave me a sovereign citizen link. And then she goes on to say, if you advance any of these arguments, you will lose your liberty and a chance to reunite with your daughter. I cannot be a part of these arguments. They have no merit. These arguments will damage your image in the eyes of the judge and the jury. The government will argue that you are a domestic terrorist, and it will give them ammunition to jail you. As an attorney, as a human being, and as a mother, I am asking you to stay away from the people who propagate these arguments. To follow them is to expose yourself to more trouble that you are already in. I cannot be a part of this. This is not a single decision in the United States where sovereign citizens want a case. You should stay away from them. You should stay away from trouble, and comply with the terms of your bond. This is the only way to keep you free and save your daughter. You need to be incredibly careful to protect yourself and your daughter. And then she gives me some list of some things, like the MacArthur Justice Center. And then it says, although I am not able to help you with your criminal case going forward, I could help you with your family case if I still have my license. And if we can obtain a DNA evidence that James Judy is not your daughter's father, so-and-so must be handled very carefully and professionally as to not to jeopardize our chances of getting his DNA. If the DNA test confirms that Judy is not her father, we can reopen the case based on fraud under Missouri Rule of Civil Procedure 7406. This is the only viable alternative that I see at this point. So she's telling me this, the only way I can get my daughter back is to try to prove that someone else is the father. And that, I'm the sovereign citizen things over.
Go ahead, Angie. Keep talking. I'm bringing up the Fox podcast that we were referring to earlier right now. I'm looking for it. I'm narrowing it down, so I'll have it here shortly. Go Go ahead.
I think this is just repeating. So she tells me this, that she can't go forward. Well, no, this isn't the one where she tells me, hold on, there's another email. Because she tells me she's incompetent. And was that in this email that I just read? Did I just read that?
And she said she's not near competent to take any further, but then she represents her.
Yeah. So she tells me that she's incompetent. She can't handle my case, that, she's not a criminal lawyer. And then when she files, I don't know if you have that document pulled up. When she files her withdrawal with the court, it's a whole nother story.
Yeah, I do have that. I'll send it to you on the Zoom in case so you can bring it up quickly.
I have it right here.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah. So when she files, she tells them that her life had been threatened, and she could no longer represent me, but she files it and words it in a way that you could misinterpret it to be me, which the judge does do this at my arraignment in July. So here it is. Come now, Evita Tolu, attorney of record for defendant Angela Freiner, and respectfully move this honorable court to grant Evita Tolu's motion to withdraw as attorney of record for the above named defendant. My family and my life have been threatened, and I can no longer represent defendant zealously under these circumstances. So she tells me one thing, tells the court another thing, and then there's that recording that you're going to play.
I'm still looking for it. I almost got it. Just got to go through a few more of her lives. It's here somewhere, and I know we have a hard copy of it somewhere on cloud as well. Do you remember around what time frame? How many was it? Wasn't it like right after Evita sent you that email, or was it kind of like a month or two after? Do you remember?
A couple months. It
Okay,
it was summertime when she did that podcast. But this is how crooked this family court system is, this whole system. Somebody I thought that was fighting the same fight with me ended up being part of the back court, the cabal.
I found it, Angie. Let me just bring it up to the right time code, and then we'll play it.
I was trying to find the email from my the homeowner, the landlord of my house, because I was able to save my house. I ended up going around all the attorneys. Once I got around Evita, Larry Mass, and McLaughlin, and went directly to the homeowner, I was able to find out what was going on, learn the truth, and I was able to save my house. Got all the money from the PO box where she had me send in the money. He finally got his money. We got paid up, and I signed a lease and saved my home, which is really odd because a lot of times people aren't able to do that. They definitely usually lose their home pretty quick.
Okay, you guys ready? Check this out. We're about to expose the connection between the emails and the podcast because something is clearly not right here. So here, let's do this.
And on that, or are we good?
No, but there is something going on in the comments I'd like to address, which is that it appears that Angela Freiner might be in more trouble with the, they're accusing her of threats. And someone in the comments, and I've heard this online a lot, bringing up Evita Tolu. Evita represented Angie Freiner for a while, but unfortunately, and they're saying in the comment section that Evita quit on her. That is not accurate. That is not an accurate description of what happened. Angie did not want Evita's help anymore. Angie has decided that she wants to go with the sovereign citizen.
There you go. There's
people
your word.
who have it's a very bad idea and I wouldn't recommend it, but no lawyer that you're working with who's a member, who's went to law school will ever argue for you under sovereign citizen issues. Okay,
Mhm.
they're not. You are subject to
Mhm.
the laws of this country, and
Right.
nothing you say in a court of law.
All of that is true, but Angie has also still not seen her 14-year-old daughter. She
And
might
that
be
is also
15.
true. That is also
Right.
true.
And
But
they are
Angie and Evita
hiding
parted
her.
ways because
Right.
Angie wasn't taking the advice of her counsel. And
Right.
you can't get, it's not because Evita didn't do everything she could for her. She
Right.
also
And
raised
Evita did it.
almost.
Let me just stop her right there. It's because Evita is clearly complicit in some of this.
Remember
It doesn't make any sense.
When I was first released from jail, I asked Evita to come off my case in the very beginning, and she never would. She waited until the grand jury indictment went through before she come up with a reason to withdraw.
And notice how Megan Fox deleted Stacy's comment, the one, what's her name again? Stacy Williams. Yeah. So, kudos to you, Stacy, if you're watching. We appreciate that you called her out, even though she deleted your comment. I know I know you were commenting on, I think it was one of our other podcasts. I think it was last week, I believe it was, or maybe even the trucker podcast I did the other day. But yeah, so yeah, this is Megan's response to that. Everybody can see this, and I just find it a little bit curious and coincidental. And I don't believe in coincidence, by the way, that she would use the same words that Evita did in the email, and then the fact that Evita made a different argument as to why she was dropping you as a client, which is completely not what she told you. So she lied to you, and so it's clear there's something else going on here. We don't know exactly what, but we do have a couple leads, and we have more evidence. But we're going to air that on our next show because Angie, did we not find a paper trail for cash? Bought real estate with cash only that has ties and connections.
Department.
Yeah, but we're going to touch base on that next week and expose the rest of this because there's a big cover up going on here with this, and we think there's a lot of shady business dealings and potentially money laundering that is going on there as well with what we've uncovered. So we're going to wait and premiere that next week, but so stay tuned, folks. We're going to uncover. We're going to blow this thing wide open.
I just want to show this last thing. This is the email from my landlord when I finally was able to make contact with them. So he says, first, I want to say that I'm sorry for the pain you and your daughter are going through. I hope you are able to get her home as soon as possible. Also, I'm not sure the messages that your attorney relayed to you from my attorney, but at no time did I offer for you to pay in full and remain in the property. The property was being sold and your month-to-month lease was being non-renewed. I never had any communication from you, even though Connie's group said they had sent.
You want to go ahead and share your screen, Angie, so the viewers can see too?
Oh, I thought I was sharing it.
I think it interrupted when I started sharing mine.
Okay. Where was I? Connie's group said they had sent my information to you. Once your attorney did not return my calls and emails, I had no choice but to look to start the legal process, which this is in June. This is when he's starting the legal process. I was arrested in March. So this starts in March, and he doesn't actually start any process to have me out of the house until June, because they had cut communication off between me and him, basically, because they were the only connection to him, because the property manager had passed away and I didn't know, nobody had told me she had died. I couldn't get a hold of her. I was trying to make contact with her and I couldn't make contact because she was passed away. Right. So yeah, he said that.
Go ahead, Angie. Keep going. I'm sorry. I was reading a comment and responding to one of our viewers.
And he also says, which as of now, I have not filed my any judgment. So nothing had ever been filed, right? So I don't know. I should go back and find the paperwork. I don't know if I have it in my files of the letter we got in the mail, because I don't think it was anything. I think it was just a letter, and it was very vague from what I remember. It said payment had not been received since January, and I did not know that you made a payment and a partial payment to Connie's group until recently. So he doesn't know that I'm paying my rent, that there's money there. So he's
did you cover the connection with the emails from Evita to your landlord or the owner?
Well, I have I was tagged in where I have emails with me, Evita, Larry Mass, and McLaughlin, the other attorney, all linked together communicating. And it's this whole narrative about you need to pay the rent, get caught up, send it here. He said he'll let you purchase the house at this price. You have to have this amount of down payment, yada, yada, yada. Like, I mean, full conversations that were completely false.
So basically, they were colluding and conspiring to basically stonewall you. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because now that I got this pending felony, I got this whatever, where they make it to where you can't rent nothing. Now you're on the street. I mean, they just totally ruin people. And because I exposed this judge and this whole entire circuit that I was helping with all the other stuff that had come out to expose this.
They didn't like that at all, did they?
No, heck no. They want to shut me up. They still want to shut me up. I'm still fighting these people.
Yep. Why don't you just briefly tell? Well, I'll kind of touch on it just a little bit, but I'll let you explain it in your own words because I think it's relevant. With this latest criminal charge that they're trying to come at you with, how many? Just tell our viewers how many of the PAs have how many PAs they've gone through before they even hit your pretrial. Like 5, right?
Well, the prosecuting attorney, there was Jessica Nagy and another woman, and then who was the law firm there at the hearing, the third bond hearing? Seidel, which is another law firm here. Some of the bigwigs from that law firm were sitting on the side watching the third bond hearing in downtown St. Louis. But there was several of those. I want to say the Nagy, the other woman that was sitting with her, there was another man on some of the paperwork. And then the last one that they won't let me have access to. They won't let me leave a message for him. They won't, I can't call him. They won't connect me with him because I'm not an attorney and I don't have an attorney. So I can't even speak to the prosecuting attorney on this case because they won't allow me to, because I don't have a lawyer to represent me into court.
Yeah, and one of the tactics they use, folks, is they basically, you can't file on your own behalf if you have an attorney representing you in any way, shape, or form. No. And so I just want to briefly why don't you tell our viewers before we wrap it up for the night, what they did to you not too long ago when they assigned you a standby counsel.
Okay, so Avita files this. I'm blacklisted, can't get attorney. I don't want an attorney at this point. I get arraigned. He tries to give me a public defender, the new judge, because, the whole 21st Circuit recused themselves. Then it went to a judge in the city of St. Louis, Judge James Sullivan. And then when they did the indictment, judges changed again. Now it's a judge in St. Charles County, Judge Fargus, their presiding judge in St. Charles, which St. Charles and St. Louis County, they're in bed together. Like, they have each other in their pockets. So
kind of like how that one CPS psychologist in the Bowles family case
exactly
was in their pocket.
Yeah, exactly. So they get rid of the city judge, get me a St. Charles judge, and I go to the arraignment. That's who she files with. That judge is the one that said, if he hears of me threatening anybody else, because he took that withdrawal from Avita as me threatening her and her family, their lives. That's how he took it. And he told me if, he heard anything else about anything like that, of me threatening anybody, he was going to put me back in jail. He was going to take my bond, forfeit my bond, and lock me up. And I would sit there until trial again. And he tried to give me a public defender at the time.
So Valerie, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I refused the public defender. I won't take his, and he gets really mad about this. So he tries again to give me the public defender. I deny the public defender. So here we go, months later, like a year later, trial's getting ready to come up. They switched the trial date and put on a standby counsel, stopping me because I filed certain paperwork with them that I'm assuming they didn't like. And that's when the standby counsel showed up, because the paperwork I filed made them responsible for any false allegations against me, made the prosecuting attorney responsible. And then I get a word from the attorney that the pretrial gets canceled. And then I get word from the standby counsel that the prosecuting attorney's office is recusing themselves, but he writes rescue. They're rescuing themselves in the email.
Oh, that's funny. You got to love the irony there. So Valerie K. Mettler says, say it differently, go pro se. And then she says, can't you change venue?
Where am I going to change venue to? They're all in each other's pockets. I mean, this is
Unfortunately, I think the only other venue she's getting that we're currently pursuing is federal.
Now, my daughter's been in Montana for a year now, or well, that's been the address apparently for the last year. So now I don't even know if St. Louis is supposed to give up their jurisdiction. It's supposed to go over to Montana's jurisdiction. I know 6 months is all they have to be. So I know they haven't let go of jurisdiction of Delilah in the case. So I don't even know if we're hearing it in the right case, in the right courthouse, in the right state anymore, because she's been there for a year.
Right. So we've had a great show tonight. It's been like we've been on for about 3 hours and like 20 minutes. So let's wrap it up. Any last words, Angie?
No, just actually be careful. Even when you think your attorney's for you, just know they're not. Even if you think they're in this fighting this fight with you, just know they're not, and that you only have you to fight for yourself. Nobody else is going to do it. Nobody can fight for your rights but you. And
in other words, people, do your due diligence, do what you have to do, and file on your own behalf, because they're going to, what we're seeing here with all these cases, they're colluding and conspiring. The legal counsel, the GALs, the judges, even lawyers that specifically in the Bowles family case, the lawyer that they hired was even in on it. So it's like it's really, really bad, and this is not a joke, people. This is serious. They're coming after your kids, and we need to wake the heck up.
If people would stop using attorneys, Stephen, if people would stop using attorneys, we could start to get a handle on it just a little bit.
Yes.
Start to get a handle. If people would just stop using them, then they would have to deal with you, and they wouldn't have that person to collude with. I'm sure they would still find ways to commit the crimes against you, but it would be a lot harder for them, and we could slow this process down, because it's bad.
Yes,
definitely. A lot of children are being taken every day.
For our viewers, we have a team that some of us do have quite a bit of a legal experience, and we can help you with some of this if you are wondering how you would even start going about this. So reach out to Dottie, Angie, Crystal, or myself, and or even Joe, and we'll help. We'll do everything in our power to help you. We got to take these bastards down and expose them. Don't you agree, Angie?
I do agree 100%. Completely
awesome.
Agree.
All right, folks, it's been a great night, a great show. We covered a lot of ground. So I would like to sign off for the night and say, join us next Sunday. We'll have another amazing show, and going to keep exposing the corruption and keep holding these bastards accountable by appealing to the public. Good night, everyone.
Bye.